What's up, party people? It's Pinkerton if you're nasty, and you're listening to Verbally Challenged.
It was just this genius, everything about it for a match style that I normally hate. Like it was just so well done.
Made you a fan.
I don't know about that. It made me a fan of these guys. I'll let these guys do another match like this, no problem. I don't want to see Velveteen Dream and EC3 standing match. That will be an hour and a half long.
Oh my god, yeah. Alright, what's up everybody and welcome back to Verbally Challenged. I'm HarikenBx and I got back with me Paul C from Building Up to It. What's going on, man?
What's up? I'm excited to talk some wrestling again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I look forward to these every single month, man.
I definitely do too. It's always nice to talk to another smart wrestling fan, and whenever I talk to you specifically, there's always things that I always missed. I didn't realize this thing happened or that thing happened, and it's always cool to get another perspective on what I think things are doing or how I feel about certain things. So I look forward to these.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We had a big weekend of wrestling that just passed. If it wasn't for NJCC, I'm sure I would have attended at least one of these shows. I'm sure at least NXT Takeover Brooklyn, which is one of the shows we're going to be discussing tonight. So let's start with that. Actually, NXT Takeover Brooklyn 4 happened on August 18th, 2018 from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. 5 great matches on the card that we're going to discuss, man. We were just discussing in the pre-show how these takeovers seem to just be getting better and better and trying to figure out like how they just seem to be so much better than the main roster shows, man. We got to try to figure it out throughout the discussion of this pay-per-view because
yeah, man, it was a hell of a show, like such a great show, and it only had, like you said, only 5 matches compared to SummerSlam's like 30 matches or whatever they had on the card. But it was so good, and I don't know if it's because there were only 5 and so it was a tighter show or what. I don't really know, because usually you can assume that main roster stuff has a lot more character, so it's more soap opera like, certainly for Raw and stuff like that. But I'd argue that in these matches here, like there was just as much story told in the matches, if not more, than in the main roster pay-per-view. So I don't really know why it's so much better.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And it is the in-ring action, I think, definitely plays a role, but definitely the length of the pay-per-view also. Like with this being right next to SummerSlam, you know, that pay-per-view, like if you count the pre-show, which was 2 hours, and they had 3 matches on that, you know, on top of the main pay-per-view, it's, you know, like a 6 or 7 hour event, like in total. So that could be kind of like exhausting. And yeah, these takeover events tend to be like about 2.5 hours, which I feel is probably like the perfect length for like a wrestling show. So nice, you know, they could tell some nice tight stories. It doesn't have to be a million matches. Each match has like, you know, room to breathe, and the competitors in the matches just, they fucking do a hell of a job. Like you could tell they just go into these matches to steal the show.
Yeah, it does feel like they go in with that intent every time. So everybody, each match, like they're all there to try to steal the show, and it really does kind of, it shows in the final product. Like it is, when they get a good match going, like it's a hell of a match. It's like they're Dave Meltzer like 5-star matches or 4.5 to 5-star matches. It's crazy, but they're all great matches.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, speaking of that, the first match of the evening was for the NXT Tag Team Championship. So the champions, the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, took on the challengers of Mustache Mountain, Tyler Bate, and Trent Seven. So I think this was a rubber match because on the June 26th, during the NXT UK Championship tournament, Mustache Mountain actually defeated the Undisputed Era for the NXT Tag Team Championships, and they wound up getting a rematch a couple of weeks later for the titles, and they got the titles back. So I believe this was a rubber match between the teams for the championships. They did not disappoint, man. I thought it was a great fast-paced opener with a lot of, back and forth action. These teams they just mesh very well together in their styles. In the end, the Undisputed Era were able to hit the total elimination to retain the titles, and I would say it's a damn near 5-star match. So what do you think overall? At the end, I didn't see this coming. The Undisputed Era got the win, and while they were celebrating, these guys, new guys to NXT, the War Raiders, came in and just basically destroyed O'Reilly and Strong. So it looks like they're probably going to be next in line for the tag team championships. What do you think overall of the match?
Yeah, I thought the match was fantastic. A hell of a way to open the show, and like I said, damn near 5-star match there. And what I think they did really well, and what I think made this such a great match, is that this isn't their first time meeting, so they've already got that chemistry there, but they were able to actually kind of do a lot of callbacks to their previous matches and kind of bring that stuff in. So there was the whole bit with when Tyler Bate was kind of in the submission hold, and whether or not Trent Seven was going to throw in the towel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So little things like that I thought were great, and of course the in-ring action was crazy. Like, it was, I think I mentioned this before when we talked about the last NXT pay-per-view, but like, this is the kind of match that I love, these kinds of matches. So this is like call back to like what the X Division was like when it first started. It was just super high action and high flying action, and just even not necessarily high flying. It's just really sharp, really crisp action. Every movement had a purpose, and they all just the chemistry between the competitors was great, and I thought it was really, really cool. And I think just you mentioned that their styles mesh together, which they absolutely do, and that's one thing that makes it so good. But it's interesting that their styles are not the same. Like, they don't have their styles are very different. So they have like the Mustache Mountain is it's all British Strong style, right? So it's a much more hard hitting and just kind of slobber knocker type thing. But when you go up against the former Ring of Honor guys and the former like indie guys like that, their whole thing is about fast pace and lots of strikes and everything like that. But it flowed so well, and they were able to tell a really good story with the match and everything like that. I thought it was superbly done, and there were so many amazing spots in this match that it's crazy just trying to like think through, because this took place on a Saturday, and since that show aired, there was like the 18-hour SummerSlam, then there's been a Raw, and then there's been a SmackDown. There's been a lot of wrestling, and so it's almost hard to keep it all straight.
Yeah, man.
At this point. But really, like, so many amazing little spots, or not little spots, amazing spots in that match that were just like I've never seen before, and I've just, my jaw dropped, and that actually kind of is almost a theme for the whole evening. Really, it was like that. But some of the things that really stuck out were like when Tyler Bate, I think it was Kyle O'Reilly was on his shoulders, and then Roderick Strong he had Roderick Strong's legs and was doing like the Cesaro swing with two dudes like on him. And then he just kind of stopped, and then he just gives like this double German suplex. Like, it was crazy how strong that dude is. Yeah. And like, you can argue, the swing, it's physics, right? Because there's a guy on his shoulders. He was still able to do it. Sure, I'm not gonna argue that, but like, then he did a German suplex with two dudes. Like, that was nuts. And then like the thing that I had never seen is I think it was it Roderick Strong that had Trent Seven again in a submission, and they were both like Undisputed Era had both of them, had both of the Mustache Mountain guys in a submission, and then Tyler Bate just powers up one of them and throws him into the other guy. Like, I'd never seen that before, and I was certainly not expecting it, and it looked so great. It looked really, really cool, and just looked like like those guys must have a ton of fun planning out these matches and trying to be innovative. Yeah, because like they certainly do.
yeah, especially when you think like everything's been done already, and then you just see something like this where it's just like, holy shit! Like, it's just so creative with the spots that they pull off.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those that I think they just had the perfect combination of guys to do it, because you and I have talked before. Like, I think that the Undisputed Era guys are great, and it's about the like intangibles. It's not just about the moves that they can do, but it's also the reactions that they do. And Kyle O'Reilly particularly is so good at that. Like the cockiness that he has in his character, and it juxtaposes really well with like when the way that he reacts when he gets hit, or when he's like so sure that he did something awesome and he escaped something and then he gets blocked in the head or whatever, and then it's like he legitimately, his whole body goes limp and he just flops over or whatever it is. Like, it works so well when it comes to kind of receiving the unexpected offense of the Mustache Mountain group. Like it just worked so well all together, I thought.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. Him in particular, like you said, and I love the way they've been portraying Roddy ever since he joined them and turned heel. Because
so much better.
I was worried about him. He looked like he was gonna flounder a bit, and him just kind of sliding in, showing the cocky attitude. Like, it's really, really good. Like, revitalized his career here. And NXT.
I've always thought he was better as a heel, and so this is perfect. Like, he's paired up with the perfect people to keep him as a good heel. Like, it's perfect. Like, for him.
Exactly. Good group. And then, like you said, like when they did the total elimination, like the way O'Reilly was on top, I think he pinned Trent 7, and the way he was just laid out on top of him, and then the count to 3, and then he was like out, like if he was like laid out himself. Like, it was just so funny, like his cell job and stuff. Like, he's done a really good job since he's come in here, considering like how are these guys going to do in this WWE system, and they're all like knocking it out of the park. They're just killing it.
I was worried, to be honest, because I loved him in Ring of Honor, and I've always loved Roderick Strong. But again, I thought he's the messiah of the backbreaker. They're never going to let him do all these backbreakers and all that kind of stuff. And I also felt that he's a much better heel than he is a face. But like, they were clearly pushing him as a face. I didn't know what they were going to do, and they either blessed Triple H or whatever, whoever it is that let them. Maybe it's William Regal, whoever it is that lets them kind of do what they would do. Is great. And actually, it brought up a very good question that kind of came through in the Rock and Wrestling page that we had. I think it was TJ had brought it up. TJ, also a very big wrestling fan. What do you think determines a 5-star match? Is it like, do you look at a 5-star match in comparison to the other matches on the card? Do you look at it in comparison to previous matches between the same people? Do you look at it as it has to be a flawless match with no botches in there anywhere? Or like, because I said this is a, to me, 5-star match for this one here. Because if it was just the action, maybe not. But because they were also able to tie in the history of the previous matches and things like that into this one, and to kind of increase the drama, because they were able to do such innovative things in the offense, I said for sure this should be a 5-star match. But TJ brought up a very good point, and a couple of people agreed with him. Like, there was some points where Trent 7 was doing clotheslines in the corner to people, and it was like he just walked from one clothesline to the other to get the other guy. And valid, but to me that didn't detract from the fact that it was still a stellar match. Like, it was still an amazing match. But again, so it all really kind of depends on how you think of it. Like, there were some botches. It probably wasn't the best match in the card, because there were amazing matches on this card. So like, it's hard to think, but I gave it a 5. I would, if I was going to do the rankings, I'd give it a 5, just because you try to look at it and not in comparison to the other matches on the card. At least I do. I think on its own, this was a super match.
Yeah, I wouldn't compare it. There are probably like a lot of variables that would go into it, and I've never really thought about like rating matches on a star system myself personally, but for me, it's got to check a few boxes. So then, like you said, it definitely helped that this wasn't like the first match between the two. It was the third in the series, so they were able to play up drama based off the previous matches, which was very important, in one of those spots, that towel spot, which is really good to bring the drama. So, and like, I guess it's subjective as far as the moves, because as far as me watching the match, like, I didn't really notice anything like that was like, oh, that was bad, that looked like it wasn't supposed to happen. Everything looked like it flowed like very well. So I guess it's just a subjective opinion to, a particular, wrestler style. I didn't notice anything bad per se, like to me. So, like I said, 4.5 to 5 stars. Like I don't know like what more these guys could have done here to be like, what more could they have given you? Like they told a hell of a story in this.
Yeah, which is crazy considering like since they're doing an NXT UK, I think it was a pretty safe bet that Mustache Mountain was not going to win this one because they're gonna win in NXT UK. They're going to be like the premier ones there.
Linchpins, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So it was again, maybe we're too smart now. Like we know about all these other things. Like if we didn't know that, it might have been even more dramatic. But like because we know that and we can assume that they weren't going to get it, maybe that detracted slightly or whatever. But I still thought an amazingly entertaining match, and like this one, it better be on like the next NXT greatest matches of whatever DVD set that they put together, because it was a hell of a match. Just about this whole pay-per-view could have been on that, really.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. We always say it, like you said, it always seems like these things get better and better. I don't know how they top it, like, and it just seems like, like I think we probably mentioned it before, like how NXT seems to be like a super indie, like in a way. And I think that's also what helps the brand, is that they kind of let them kind of have those type of matches, because you don't see these matches on the main roster or even on the main roster pay-per-views. You could see it here and there, but they just really let these guys go here. And for some reason you just don't see that like on the main roster. The guys don't get that same type of push or that same type of leeway in the matches, it seems, so like you said, it seems like every guy, every match here is like out to steal the show,
Yep.
So the next one up was EC3 versus the Velveteen Dream. So cool little feud between these guys. I believe it started also at the NXT UK Championship Tournament tapings, where EC3 and the Velveteen Dream were a team against Aleister Black and Ricochet, which they lost that tag team match because the Dream left EC3 hanging, which left them susceptible to a black mass from Aleister Black. So these guys were kind of NXT TV kind of going back and forth a little bit. They had a little poolside vignette, which was kind of funny. Again, stuff that we don't really see too much of on the main roster, kind of getting storyline there. So this was a pretty good match, I thought also. But, after that first match, I felt like it kind of didn't live up. So I thought it was funny because Dream came out wearing tights that said, "Call me up, Vince."
And just is hilarious, but so perfect to his character. Like that's exactly what the kind of stuff his character would do. So I think it's his understanding of who the Velveteen Dream is really, really good.
Yeah, and then again, this guy being so young, like he's so like into that character, he plays it so well, and he's solid. Like you could know he's just gonna keep getting better and better as far as like the performance in the ring and his moves. You could tell he's still got that little bit of greenness in him, but just as far as like the character is fucking over, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like it is a character that could get over on the main roster as long as they have a push and a plan for him. Like they just can't call him up just to kind of call him up and have just another guy on the roster. They need to do something with him,
Yeah, I was surprised. I said it before, I think again with you, is that if they do, or when they do call him up, they're gonna need to update that character, because that Velveteen Dream is never going to go over well with the main roster crowd. But the more I see him in it, like the more I love it. And the more I could see it working, but they're going to have to do some work, I think. They can't just let him go, because it'll be like No Way Jose. It'll be like Adam Rose and all that, where they have this they're hugely popular and have this great gimmick going, but without any sort of explanation, like it's just not going to get over. Though I think he is so good with this character that I can see him doing it, and hopefully there's enough recognition there because he was on Tough Enough that people will be like, well, let me see what this is all about. Let's give it a shot or something like that.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll be like a little bit more invested.
I'm really hoping so, because I love it.
Yeah. So these guys, I thought they did a pretty good job. The match, it seemed like it was a little bit hard hitting. Even though it seemed like they lost the crowd a little bit, the crowd maybe it was just because of all the excitement from the first match, just didn't seem like they had that same type of fire.
I think that's it, and I think it's because you go from such high flying action. Or again, not high flying, but some from such fast moving action in the first match to this, where they're big dudes, and they just don't move as quickly, and nor should you expect them to really. And like, even though like we see in the Dream Ricochet match, like Dream can do some of those moves like slightly slower than Ricochet can, but can still do them. Like, it shouldn't be expected that he can do all those kinds of things. So just the style of this match was probably closer to what you can expect on a main roster pay-per-view, or just a main roster kind of a match. And I think that is due in part to I think that Dream matches up really well with whoever his opponent is, and can kind of match the styles to theirs. And so EC3, even though I think he's really does really good with his character and all that, I've never really liked him as a wrestler, like, because he's very much old school WWE, kind of what Vince is looking for, and kind of when TNA was kind of floundering a little bit, like he helped give them character, but he's a slower wrestler, but he's a great character. He doesn't do the things that like your Ricochets can do, your Adam Coles and all that kind of stuff. He doesn't wrestle like that. And I think that is just kind of because Dream kind of can morph and match up to that. I think just overall it slowed the kind of momentum on the pay-per-view down, but it wasn't that it was a bad match. It just was a slower match and didn't have wall-to-wall spots. I think they certainly, there came a point where like the first half was kind of funnier stuff, because they're both characters. And then as it kind of progressed on, it got crazy again also. Like, they were doing some crazy stuff towards the end. But it's just that's probably when the crowd got back into it. It's just leading up to it, they weren't really as into it as they were in the last match.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then I also think like it's kind of like weird, the dynamic also, because, both of these guys are generally kind of like heels.
Oh yeah,
they're portrayed as
both heels. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, okay, who do you cheer for here? And I guess maybe they were kind of like playing EC3 in that babyface role, but like I don't really have like a reason to cheer him. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
that dude's a heel. Like, he needs to be a heel, and they were kind of booking him as kind of face-ish. And which is a little weird. It made me worry that they don't know like how to use that character, or at least they need to get him in a better feud. But kind of I guess part of the issue is that the I'm better than you guys kind of shtick is taken up by Undisputed Era, and their I'm better than you is talent, and the EC3 character is like that he's the 1%er and all that, like, and he's a better person than you. So maybe they didn't want to kind of do that again, even though it's from a slightly different angle. I don't know. But I was actually a little bit surprised that, even though I wanted Dream to win this, because I think, even though I think he is, even in loss, still over. Like, even if he were to have lost, it would have been fine. I'm glad he got a win, but I'm surprised that it was at the expense of EC3. Not that I like EC3 better, but I thought that they were trying to push him.
Exactly.
So I was a little bit surprised, pleasantly surprised, I guess is probably the best way to say it. But that does make me wonder if they're gonna call up EC3 now because of that.
Yeah, because they actually sometimes they do call ups around this time of year. So, I mean, we didn't see any on Raw or SmackDown, which I think is when they did it last year.
Yeah,
usually after SummerSlam. So maybe they're gonna wait before they pull the trigger on any of these guys. But yeah, it's just weird because, like you said, because EC3 being one of the new guys coming in earlier in the year, like with Ricochet, you figured he would kind of get like his own push and not be kind of derailed in any way. And you definitely, Dream is on the up, on the rise in NXT. Who knows? Maybe they will call him up, or maybe they'll wait till after WrestleMania. But I kind of feel like they might continue this with these guys and maybe pair them up in some way, just to kind of get a little bit more story out of it.
I think they'd actually be a good team together. So I think they do have good chemistry, as again, both being heels and like both being better than you kind of a thing. So I can see that actually. So if they do kind of put him in the tag team, I can see that working. Though again, I know I am nervous. I don't know if nervous is the right word, but now I'm wondering if they will call up EC3, because he is better suited with his character as it is now for the main roster. Like this is like he'd be good on Raw. Sad to say, even though I think Raw is in general fairly boring lately because there's so much emphasis on characters and trying to push these long-term storylines, but like he's more storyline than wrestler, if you ask me.
Yeah. He probably would be a good fit on Raw because I think they need some heels, man. Like when you look up and down their roster, especially in regards, I mean, we'll get into SummerSlam and a couple of the results of those matches, but it seems like they're lacking like in heels, like in a way. So they might either need to turn some faces or call some people up, you know.
I think Raw in general is lacking, just in general.
Yeah. So yeah, Dream did get the win here. He hit a cartwheel Dream Valley driver on the ring apron and then followed it up with his elbow drop, which is that was crazy. He hit the elbow drop on the ring apron also. And then,
both of those spots. I mean, again, you and I talked. It is legitimately like that is the worst part of the match to land on, and get good on EC3 for taking that Dream Valley driver and the what do they call it? The purple Rainmaker, whatever the elbow.
Yeah.
Like taking both of those on the apron. Like, yikes. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, you definitely both guys feel that. Probably even the Dream more than maybe EC3 because EC3 taking the Death Valley driver, but then he's already on the mat for the elbow drop.
That's true. That's a big elbow drop.
Yeah, because that's a big dude. Dream's a big dude, so he got the win there. The crowd seemed happy. You know, they seemed to be.
Everyone loves the Dream, man.
Yeah, man, he was over. It's over in Brooklyn. All right, man. This next match, fucking incredible. This next match was for the NXT North American Championship. The champion, Adam Cole, representing the Undisputed Era versus Ricochet. So this match was set up because Ricochet confronted Adam Cole after he had a match with, I believe, Sean Maluda on an episode of NXT TV. Challenged Cole for the title. Cole refused. And they eventually was scheduled to be put in a match by William Regal. And I know on the last couple of, either on the last episode or episode before, Ricochet was attacked before a match by the Undisputed Era, so he didn't get to compete. So it set up this match for TakeOver Brooklyn. And man, these dudes killed it. They absolutely killed it.
It was incredible.
Yeah, just the back and forth, the crowd on the edge of their seat from like beginning to end. Ricochet kind of coming in and like learning that WWE style. I think TJ also brought it up in the Rock and Wrestling group. Like it's been almost like a blessing in disguise for him, you know, because he's able to still utilize all the impressive high flying maneuvers, but toning the style down a bit to be able to, you know, sell a little bit more and tell a little bit more of a story in these matches. So moves like that mean more.
Yeah, that's a big thing, I think. Like when you go from like his indie stuff, like Ricochet, Will Ospreay, it's wall to wall spots and the most insane spots you'll ever see. But there's not much story, and I love that match, like their kind of dream match against each other when they do them, because it's like a YouTube highlight reel, like the whole thing. It's incredible. But like in order to really kind of get him over with the crowd, you need to be able to tell a story, and I think, just like TJ said, like he's legit learning how to do that, and it's in matches like this, an fucking incredible match. Yeah, but like it's because they were able to tell the story again, through the, it's weird to say, through the physicality that they were doing there. And just like with the previous Undisputed Era match, like their styles were very different. Like Ricochet, as we know now, legitimately very, very much a high flyer, and Adam Cole was just not having any of it. His whole thing is that no. You want to try doing that? I can stop you. Yep. And he did. He was, and the whole match was that. Like it was Adam Cole grounding Ricochet's crazy moves that he was doing, and even when Ricochet would do them, like he'd be able to evade him. He was always one step ahead. Yeah, like it was such a good match. Just the ring psychology of the whole thing, and considering there wasn't really too much build up feud wise, like it was just all told in the match. Like it was great.
Yeah. Just Ricochet going for the title, just feeling like Adam Cole wasn't a good representative of being the champion, and it kind of did have that build up, like lead in a way, because in the very first match for the North American Championship, that ladder match in Takeover New Orleans,
another hell of a match.
Ricochet was the one that was about to grab the belt, and it was Adam Cole that threw him off the ladder, and he won the match. You know what I'm saying? So that was a nice little kind of lead into this. And and Ricochet, they did kind of extend it a little bit, because due to his high risk style, I believe he was injured kind of coming into this. He was basically left off house shows for a bit, and even though it looked like he was going to come out for the match and they jumped him, that was just basically just kind of to have him come out so you could see him. But they were intending for him to rest up for this match, because I think he missed like a dive on the outside during the UK tournament tapings, and he tweaked his shoulders. Actually, it was before that event, so he worked that event in the tag team match, but it was noted that he was hurt, so they were kind of giving him some time to heal up, for this takeover match. So looks like he's good to go. Nice. Yeah, man.
Because you don't hear about that on the main roster as much. Like they don't really give them time to heal up. They just keep working until they can't put it off anymore, and then they have to drop their title or whatever it is in order to kind of get the surgery they need or whatever it might be.
Yeah, thankfully it wasn't anything like serious where I guess he needed like surgery, but I guess he was just rehabbing and just making sure that he was good to go. And again, we just spoke about the high risk style, and how he doesn't need to take as many risks, or at least tell a better story in the matches. So like the big moves like that, when you do them, like mean more. So just you could just reel it back a little bit and still kind of get over without having to do as much. You know what I'm saying? I think Jericho told a story like that before, like, and he tries to tell like the younger guys like in the indies, just like Ricochet and Will Ospreay and a lot of other guys that still work that type of style. Like, it's like, hey, you don't have to do so much, but these guys are trying to get known and trying to get their name out there. So I could understand why they do it as well. But when you go so high risk like that, just the high risk of injury, but then you also give other guys a hard act to follow as well. So.
Like this, again, I've said it already a bunch of times for the show, and there's only been 2 matches so far, but like so many amazing spots. This one has the most amazing spots. Like it's crazy all the stuff that they did in this. That was just like, again, it's Ricochet's like a human highlight reel. Like you can see that guy just go, and like, so one of my favorite spots, not my favorite, but one of my favorite spots was just kind of towards the end when he just kind of strolled and then leapt over the turnbuckle when Adam Cole was on the apron, and then just whipped out a Hurricane Rana.
Oh yeah, that was really cool.
He just kind of strolled. He didn't springboard off the top rope. Didn't slingshot off the top rope. He just kind of hurdled it and then landed on Adam Cole's shoulders, and then just gave him a Hurricane Rana. It was crazy.
That was really, really good. Like, he makes things just look like easy, and I think that was a thing that was told. It was like, man, don't make things look too easy, so you could look like you're struggling, and then and it draws the people in. That was a dope spot. And then, like you said, just the psychology of Adam Cole keeping the high flyer grounded. You know what I'm saying? Every time he was trying to do something, Cole just had an answer for him.
Yeah, and like that, just leading up to that spot, like just that one particular, just specifically, like it was, I think the whole sequence was like Adam Cole went for what's his finisher? Like the knee to the back of the head.
Yeah.
And then Ricochet just ducked it and then gave him a reverse Hurricane Rana in the middle of the mat, setting him up for the 630. But by the time Ricochet got up on the turnbuckle, Adam Cole, like he rolled out of the mat, and he's like, look at me, I'm smart. Yeah. I got out of the way, and then that's when there's a quick stroll and the Hurricane Rana. So again, it's that's in the storytelling. That's the ring psychology portion of it, is that you let the heel character do what he does to be smarmy and like, I got this. See this, you ain't got shit on me, and then it makes it more impactful when the face can do something like that. Something I don't know if I've seen him do that in other matches. I'm sure he has, but I don't know if I've seen him do that before. Certainly not in a WWE match.
Exactly.
But like it just shows how good he is and how much more impactful that is now that there is that story with it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and Adam Cole plays, like you said, that smarmy like heel perfectly. Like it's just, he's just good in general. Like he's one of those that I feel is like that CM Punk Punk like in a way where he just doesn't come across as scripted. He comes across very natural, like just very talented. And if anything is going to hold that dude back, is just his size, basically, because he just doesn't, he's not 6'4", and 300 pounds or 250 pounds, unfortunately. So hopefully the size doesn't hold him back in any way, because his talent is just incredible.
Yeah, he really is. And I think the way around that, because I think that is going to be an issue on the main roster, unfortunately. But I think the way around that is to keep Undisputed Era together and to kind of make them like a faction, like a team. Because like you get like Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston are not nearly the size of Big E, but it works well as a unit because they have it's the numbers that they've got there.
There you go.
And as a whole, they're a great unit. So I think you can do that with something with them here like this too. You got to keep them all together, and then it kind of protects them from that.
That's true.
That size issue, which it shouldn't be an issue, but it is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like I think that'll help them that way.
That's true. That would be the best way to go for them, because I wouldn't want them to see them, like, even though, I like 205 Live and the matches and stuff that we get there, but, that's like an island unto themselves, and it's not really involved as far as like the bigger happenings in WWE. And so I would
be very sad if they put any of them.
If they were relegated, just to that show. You know what I'm saying?
And I love the Cruiserweight stuff, but I would be very sad.
Yeah, because it sucks. Because I would like to see those guys just to switch it up, like have them mix it up with guys on the main roster like AJ and Joe and guys like that, like
this would be the hell of a match.
Yeah, exactly.
But we didn't even talk about the best spot. The
freaking moonsault, the moonsault into the super kick, that was good.
Incredible. And you did mention it last time, like Ricochet has such control over his body, like he can. I don't know how you practice that spot. I don't know how the timing of that is just it's pinpoint. Like everything had to be perfect for that, but it was perfect and
perfect.
And just like you said, it's what made it even better was the story that they were telling in it, because seconds before that, the spot was like, I believe Ricochet just did a slingshot. Like he tried to do a slingshot off of the ropes into the mat, and then Adam Cole went for a super kick, which Ricochet caught and blocked. Yep. And then kind of clocked him, and then went for he clocked Adam Cole, and then he went for the lion salt, and then because they had that preamble part where Adam Cole tried the super kick and it failed, and now Ricochet's got us. He's got your number.
Yeah.
And then we tried that moonsault and then just got super kicked in the head midair when he was upside down.
That was insane.
It was an insane spot, but even better within the match. Like it's crazy to think that they would do something like that, and they did it so well.
Yeah, perfect execution. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just have to have talent to pull something off like that live, one shot, one take, and then he, loved that he didn't really celebrate. Like, he picked them up and immediately hit another move to try to get the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was awesome. You know what I'm saying? And Ricochet kicked out. You know what I'm saying? And then you see the emotion in his face, like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? So it's that, again, that also just goes into them telling that story. You know what I'm saying? With their emotions, with the moves, but also with their expressions and the emotions in their face. Like, that was so freaking good.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and then like you said, the way they kind of ended, where Ricochet wanted to hit the 630, Cole rolls out, Ricochet hits him, just running, like you said, casually, just kind of hopped over the top rope to hit the Frankensteiner, and then threw him back into the ring for the 630. And that move is just like, you saw how they just kept replaying it in slow motion, and
it's incredible,
man. Like,
I can't believe it.
Yeah, like that worries me. Like, I hope like he doesn't. That's not. I don't feel like that's a movie he has to do all the time. Like, save it for the special occasions. But man, that shit is fucking impressive.
Yeah, I would venture that they won't let him do it all the time. It'll be just like maybe just on pay-per-views, or hopefully it won't be on every pay-per-view, because I think it's a scary enough spot that with WWE and that whole thing with all the concussions and then potential neck injuries and all that kind of stuff. Like, that one is close. Like, that one could very well go wrong very easily, even though in his hands, like that guy, Ricochet, can do whatever he needs to do. But like, I hope that they still let him do it. But like you said, I hope that he doesn't feel the need to do it all the time, because that guy's got moves for days. Like that guy could do anything. Exactly. So he doesn't need to just rely on that. It's almost like, I almost kind of feel bad for AJ, because that guy has so many moves, but because he's main roster now, he kind of hit what's his finisher now? The phenomenal forearm, which is like one of his weakest moves ever. And I would venture a guess that was never intended to be his finisher, but because it got so over with the fans right away, that's now his finisher. That like, I almost feel bad for AJ, because he can do so many other things that like he's relegated to the kind of what is it? 5-move John, whatever, like John Cena's like 5 moves that he always has. Like fans now expect that there's going to be kind of a sequence of moves that everyone does, because it's their signatures. They have to have that. I want to see him do the forearm. I want to see I want to see Seth do, I don't know, the ripcord knee or whatever they're calling that thing now. And like everyone's got to have their signatures that they have to do.
Exactly. Like they're just trained, like we're just trained like to see that like in the match, you know. And and you know the thing with the forearm with AJ is that probably it's like a finisher that he could hit like on anybody, even if it's a bigger guy. And then like you said, it is kind of, you know, like toned down on that main roster, because even in his match with Joe, they pulled out like a phenomenal match, but we know that they're capable of, you know, so much more than that. And even the 20-25 minutes that they gave us at SummerSlam was good, but I know they're capable of more, and you know, it looks like we're going to be getting more out of them, which is good.
That's we'll talk about that when we get there. We should move forward. This will be like a 4-hour episode.
So all right, so Ricochet got the win there. He won his first championship in NXT, so looking forward to seeing more from that guy.
Yeah, definitely. He's that dude's future is very, very bright.
Yep.
And the fact that they put a belt on him already, it's a good sign.
Yep. Special talent. All right. Next up was for the NXT Women's Championship. Shayna Baszler, the champion, versus Kairi Sane. You know, this chick, like I like her, but the pirate gimmick like annoys me. Like it's just, I feel like it's too over the top and too gimmicky. Like I feel
it's very anime, isn't it? Like that. That's the whole thing. I remember. I think someone also, again, in the Rock and Wrestling group, like they post. Anybody listen to this who's not in that group, join the group. Clearly you like wrestling. You should join that group and join the discussion. But I think someone said, like, I don't like the gimmicks. She's like, what the hell kind of a sailor is that? And all that kind of stuff. And then somebody rightfully said, I don't think she's really supposed to be like a sailor, even though it's kind of sailor outfit. I think it's supposed to be more like she's an anime captain. And I'm pretty sure that is indeed the intent, is that she's very anime-ish based on her posing and all that kind of stuff. But once that bell rings, she can go. I think that's kind of the whole point of that character. But yes, I understand. Like, I'm not crazy about the gimmick either, but I love that girl can wrestle, man. She has got some. That elbow drop alone made me love her, and then it's good to see, especially in a match like this, that she can do more than just kind of the gimmicky stuff. Like she can really go.
Oh yeah. She proved herself here, like for anybody that wasn't sold on her abilities and stuff. So
like Shayna, she wasn't sold on her abilities.
Yeah, gimmick aside and stuff. You know, she earned a match by beating Nikki Cross and Candice LeRae in a triple threat match, and I think this is also like a kind of like a rematch from last year's Mae Young Classic finals. Right, it was them two in the finals, which Sane actually beat Baszler, and they were just building it up because the way Baszler's been so dominant, like in the division, almost like a completely different, wrestler from last year when these two faced off. They were kind of just throwing the question out there is like, can Sane beat Baszler still, just because of how brutal she's been? Sane was able to show like a nice little, mean streak here, which Baszler, accused her of not having. And man, they went at it. This was pretty good, back and forth and stuff like that. I thought Baszler was going to get the win. Honestly, I didn't think Sane was going to take it here. And, she surprised her kind of like with a counter into a roll up, and she got the 1-2-3. So like, I'm wondering if they have some plans to maybe, move up Baszler, or maybe that's why she lost the belt here.
I'm thinking that too. I think it's a little soon, but I think because of Evolution coming, I think that's the plan. Because the other 3 of the 4 like horsewomen, the UFC horsewomen, were like in the audience watching this match and all that kind of stuff. So I can see them pushing it. I think it's too soon, but I can see it happening.
Yep. Yeah, I think they're gonna try to fast track that because I know the other two girls are training, and haven't heard like any kind of like updates on their progress, but they're kind of giving them these little winks and nods like on TV as they have been already. They're probably moving along pretty well, or at least well enough where they feel like they could probably move forward with this type of storyline. So
yeah, well, like even though I prefer. Like I like Sane quite a bit. I'm glad she won. Like this is the way I would have wanted it to win.
Mm-hmm.
But like I am still surprised that it was again at the because now Baszler lost. Unless she's going to the main roster, like I don't really know. Unless they're gonna do a feud, I don't know if they can do this feud anymore. Really, because this was kind of the culmination of that to show that she does have that aggression. That Sane has that aggression, and I think what they're gonna try to do. I can see them doing like I think the Mae Young Classic is before Evolution, right? I think that's when they're going to air it.
Yeah, they're gonna start episodes. You could start streaming September 5th, and the finals take place at Evolution.
Oh, okay. So I can see like because they signed Io Shirai, which is another Japanese like superstar, female superstar wrestler. I can see them setting up the Kairi Sane Io Shirai match. Like I can see them doing that. Because I think that would be great on Evolution, and then that would also allow Baszler to kind of hook up with Ronda Rousey and kind of and then do that 4 horsewomen thing. I can see that. Like I haven't figured it all out in my head, but I can see that happening on the show, and I think it kind of makes sense. Certainly would make sense in like the WWE's eyes. Like I can see Vince being like, yeah, that's what we should do. So I can see them going that direction with it.
See, now that you brought that up, that does kind of make sense, like as to why Shayna lost here. But then they did, well, we'll get to it. They did the whole thing with Becky. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, unless they set that aside, or that just might be like another piece of intrigue, like leading into the match. Like, hey, they have to get along because they got to take care of these girls,
Yeah, that's true. If they do the 4 horsemen versus 4 horsemen, Becky's one of them. So
yeah,
they have her as a heel now. Which I think is kind of a shame. I think Charlotte's a better heel than Becky. But anyway, we'll get there.
We'll get there. All right. Yeah. So Kairi Sane here won the title. So congrats to her. We'll see what direction they kind of go with the women's division now. There's a lot of women like now on the roster, like a lot of new ones that are kind of coming up. So
yeah, hopefully they do something good with them because there's been a lot of NXT women call-ups that sucked.
Yeah. Right now. But even just on NXT, like themselves, like, we got Bianca Belair and I think like Lacey Evans and Vanessa Bourne. Like there's a few like girls now on the NXT TV that are getting like a spotlight. So it's just like we got a new crop. So I'm just interested to see like who's gonna pull to the top right there.
Plus with Mae Young Classic too, like there's gonna be more signings out of that too. So it's gonna be even more. And like I hope it's for more than just. We have Evolution coming, so we got to get more women in so we can have a full pay-per-view, all women. Like hopefully they're giving them a legit chance to stick around in the roster.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully. We'll see what happens. All right, the main event of the show for the NXT Championship, Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano. Like, man, I didn't think they'd be able to top the last two, but it seems like this one was just as brutal, just as on par with, their earlier battles. Very reminiscent, I feel like, of the last one. That was at Chicago too, right? Takeover Chicago.
The street fight.
Yeah, just brutal. Because this was the last man standing match. So on the July 25th episode of NXT, Ciampa defeated Black due to interference from Johnny Gargano. He accidentally hit Aleister Black with the NXT title while he was trying to prevent Tommaso from winning. So he actually helped them win the title. So the following week, they had a confrontation. Gargano and Black, they had a match set up. Tommaso interfered in that. I believe there was a rematch for the title, Tommaso and Black one-on-one, which Johnny Gargano interfered. So William Regal decided just to put them in a triple threat match. But unfortunately, during like a house show, Aleister Black got injured. So they filmed a vignette of Aleister Black. It's kind of cool how they did it because they set up a lot of people that could be suspects, because we saw Johnny Gargano, we saw the Undisputed Era. There was more people. I don't even remember everybody, but there was actually a few people on the roster that we saw. I think Heavy Machinery were there. So they kind of set up like a whodunit, and we saw Aleister Black laid out. And
well, that's obvious. Rikishi did it.
right? Oh yeah, remember that? So funny.
He did it for The Rock.
So so Aleister Black is basically taken out of the equation. He's injured. Don't know how long he's going to have to be on the shelf, but he sustained some type of groin injury that I think he needed surgery on. So this was basically made a one-on-one match as a last man standing to, I don't know if this really settled anything, but just another brutal match between these guys. They're just hitting each other with everything they had. Excellent match. Like, I feel like these guys.
Just a hell of a match. And
yeah,
like it's like you said, I didn't go in expecting like, how can they beat the last two matches that they had? And also, how can they beat some of the other matches on this card? Because this card has been incredible so far.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they managed to do both. Like it's crazy. Like this was just there was just so much like raw emotion in this match, and the things that they did. I don't know how they continue to make innovative ways to beat the shit out of each other. Like it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't seem stale, even though I typically do not like a last man standing match. I usually find them pretty boring because really all I really know them from are like a WWE like main roster match. So you get like the Rock versus Mankind or something like that, and I Quit match or last man standing match, or even an ECW back in the day. Those are the ones that in a highlight reel you can get some amazing like an amazing 10-minute highlight reel, but the match itself ultimately is like 50 minutes because they're just rocking around in the crowd trying to do what they can. Like, so I find them typically pretty boring, but all this stuff, even things that were like, we saw them try to do in the last match and that kind of stuff still felt fresh because it ultimately executed differently, even though the setup was the same. Like, so it was crazy. Like the stuff that they did that, like, I can't believe they did that. Like, so they pull up like they pull up the canvas, or they'll pull up the mats or whatever. They'll set up chairs in the corner and stuff like that. Stuff that they did in the last one, but like they executed them all completely differently.
In a different way. And because of, like you said, even earlier in the match with the tag team match with Mustache Mountain, because of the previous matches between these guys in the history, they were able to call back some of those spots, and then you're like, oh no, is he gonna catch him? He's gonna catch him, and then they're able to kind of go in a different direction, like really freaking good, man.
It was just so well done, these two. Like it's crazy. I want to see them on the main roster just for their success, and I would love to see them like spice up the shows, but this is so good. Like I almost don't want them to go.
yeah, because we're not going to get this on the main roster. Like there's no way they're going to let these guys go like that.
It's the thing. Like I don't know when the last time they had these kinds of matches like this, where it was this innovatively brutal. I don't think I've ever seen in recent years where anyone has pulled up the canvas on the main roster show.
Nope.
Pulled up the mats and exposed the concrete in a main roster show. Like none of that stuff. Like have I seen? Like I've certainly never seen a lawn dart into a chair. Like that's crazy.
Nope. And then when he did the butterfly kind of like pedigree into the ring steps on the outside.
Oh yeah, like that face plant thing. Like it was just like so many amazing spots in this. But like we said, there was so much story to this that made it so much more, so much ring psychology. Everything about this was just oozing like just this hatred for each other, and it's crazy because like they were just storyline with kayfabe wise, like they were such good friends. They were brothers and DIY and all that kind of stuff, and then just kind of just in real life, like they're legit like buddies and all that kind of stuff. And I was reading that people, like everybody, like they consider the two of them to be kind of leaders in the locker room and are the first ones there. The two of them together to, if someone gets injured, they're there to try to help out. They're there to help kind of coach and groom younger talent and all that. And like it's crazy that they're able to do this kind of stuff, these kinds of matches, when like they are legitimately like brothers in real life. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, well, I think that helps probably with the chemistry to be able to do stuff like this, because then the trust is there with each other. They're trusting each other with their bodies. Yep, which makes it, seem like it's weird in that dynamic, because it means like, okay, we just gonna kick each other's asses better because we like each other, so it's funny. Just a lot of crazy spots here. Like I love the one where Gargano was on the outside on like by the barricade, and Tommaso just came running with the chair, slammed him right through the freaking barricade, and then just throwing all the shit on top of him so he couldn't stand up.
That was probably my favorite one. Or I shouldn't say my favorite, but one of those that I had never seen before, but just makes so much sense. Like, because like he was just come on already, and then that's when you snap kind of Ken Shamrock style. You just start throwing shit on him. It's a last man standing match. Pile all the shit on him. Like, you would do that.
Yeah.
Like it makes total sense.
Makes sense.
They never do that. Like I've never seen that before. And the poor like stage hand. I don't know what he was. Like the dude who got super kicked by Gargano, and then ultimately got thrown on top of Gargano by Ciampa, just in that pylon bit. Like
he got some of that shit thrown right on top of him. Yep.
Like it's genius, and like I don't know who came up with like the storyline or like, all right, these are the spots. Well, let's try to do this. Let's do this. And what hasn't anyone done before? A stagehand. Let's knock out a stagehand and use him. Like I don't know who came up with those ideas, and I don't know like if like they're like, okay, in the last match we did this. Let's do something similar where we can call back to it, or if this is something that has been long term, like when they started the feud, we're gonna hit these spots, and like I don't know when they planned all this stuff out, but it's genius planning, like that to do good. All this. Like it was everything about this one was just genius. Like in character, like this stuff. Like Gargano was he's basically his version of Snaps. Like he went from the face to like just almost pulling his hair out and willing to do anything he can to try to beat Ciampa, and Ciampa is just the ultimate heel in the stuff that he's been doing. Like there's that one bit in there, and it was just in the middle of the match. Like so, his finisher is the Project Ciampa, one of my favorite finishers, by the way.
Love it. Yeah,
he lays him out 3 Project Ciampa, and so what does he do? He just sits in a folding chair in the middle of the ring and watches as he's gonna get the 3 count. Like that's such a beautiful heel move. It's genius. Yep. And then of course, Gargano pops up and super kicks him off the chair. So good. Like just so good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, these two just incredible back and forth match. And then like you said, just because of the way Gargano has snapped because of his hatred, this hatred that he's feeling towards Ciampa, it came back to bite him. Like in the ass, like at the end of the match, the handcuffs.
A smart way to do it. Like they can still keep it going now. Like it was just so smartly done. It
was good. It was good the way they did it, because it was kind of funny because it was almost like it seemed like he was gonna give Ciampa a chance real quick. Like they pulled out the handcuffs. They're going back and forth with that. They walk up to the ramp. And then so Gargano handcuffs him to whatever, that thing was on the stage.
Some scaffolding, something.
Yeah. So, Ciampa does have enough like leverage to be able to stand. And he's like, I'm sorry. Because, Gargano's about to fuck him up. And so Gargano like kind of gave him a chance to catch like the 10 count without catching any more damage. And Ciampa stood up. Yep. And then he's like, I'm sorry. And then that's when, Johnny Wrestling realized, he's like, man, no, I got to do it. I got to put him away. And then he smashes him with that running knee. But then in doing so, ran into the production equipment. And then, he himself just couldn't answer the 10 count. Yep. He couldn't answer the referee's count of 10. And Ciampa did basically what he did earlier in the match, which is kind of just roll off the stage to his feet before the count of 10. So he was able to just retain the title. Just beautifully executed match, smartly executed.
It's just genius. Like so much of that stuff, like just it's the foresight in when they were creating the match. I think that was just so good, because there were so many little things that like when they would DIY and they would do like their running finisher, like so Ciampa would always do the running knee, and then Gargano would do the super kick, and then they would do that. So when Gargano first had Ciampa like up against I think it was against the LEDs at that point, or I don't remember, but he was just super kick after super kick against that wall. And then like when he snapped at the end, he did Ciampa's move, like he pulled off the knee brace, and then it went to use his own move against him. Like so already like he He snapped and handcuffed him, and then he went to ultimately to use Gargano or to use Ciampa's move against him to put him away, and it was kind of that hubris that did it, because he did it and did stuff that was so out of character. He ended up not only like fucking himself up so that he couldn't stand up, but because he put the handcuffs on Ciampa, like then Ciampa was able to just kind of dangle there, and that's why he was able to stand. So smart. And again, it was everything that like in all essence Gargano should have won, but like because he went too far, like now that's the storyline, is that he has now become what he hates, and like it was genius, like everything about it for a match style that I normally hate. Like it was just so well done.
Made you a fan.
I don't know about that. It made me a fan of these guys. I'll let these guys do another match like this, no problem. I don't want to see Velveteen Dream and EC3 match. That will be an hour and a half long.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh man, but yeah, these guys, they killed it, man. They killed it, and just the pay-per-view overall.
Solid stuff.
Yeah, I would just give it 5 stars overall, just as much as I enjoyed it. Especially we gave what was it? Extreme Rules got kind of like that middle of the road 2.53 star rating. They killed it here. They absolutely killed it, and left SummerSlam with a lot to live up to.
As is usually the case.
SummerSlam, I was like, man, there's a lot of rematches on this card. Surprisingly, you would think like, for the event that's supposed to be the second biggest event on their calendar, just after WrestleMania, I was expecting to see kind of like fresher matches and stuff like that. But they did surprise me.
It was surprisingly entertaining. I thought I was dreading is not the right word, but when it was already going to be like a 5-hour pay-per-view plus the pre-show, and there were so many matches. I'm like, what is going on?
Dude, a lot of matches. As I was going through taking notes, I'm like, yo, this is a lot of fucking matches. This is a lot. Yeah,
that was the joke. Was like whenever they the reason there was like a 2-hour pre-show, and why they only had 3 like 10-minute matches was because they were just going over the card. Because it's so many matches.
Exactly. And when you add those pre-show matches into it, it's a lot to take in. Especially if you're there in the live crowd. Like it's cool to give people like a lot of content, a lot of wrestling, and again, it's again their second biggest event on the calendar, so I understand like the length and everything, but man, sometimes these shows are tough just because of how long they are, especially like if you were there in the audience.
This one was a pretty, like, I've heard it described this way, and I guess it's kind of true. Like, it's a pretty pandering kind of a pay-per-view this time. Like, a lot of the stuff that they did and that actually happened was clearly, like, for the fans. Like, they did it. It was almost to the detriment, like, of them, because it, like, kind of came out of nowhere, but definitely made the fans happy at the time.
Yeah. There definitely seemed to be, like, a lot of, like, happy endings to this one.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was cool. Some unexpected things, like to see. We had a couple of unexpected squash matches and stuff like that.
There were a lot of squash matches.
Yeah, surprising
that I was not expecting.
I think they were just
like I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I think they were just probably trying to do something different and other than what you would expect. So we'll try to see, I guess, through the course of what we discussed, whether what worked for us or not. So just to cover the pre-show, they did have 3 matches, and then this event also took place in the Barclays Center the day after NXT Takeover. So this is now August 19th. So the 3 matches on the pre-show, the first one was Andrade Cien Almas. Poor guy, it seems like he can't get off the pre-show.
I feel bad for him because, like,
so talented, and
he is really good, and like, so not only is he awesome, Rusev is awesome, and they both like had excellent like matches recently, and now they're in the pre-show with their female counterparts, and that was clearly the kind of focus of the match was on them and not on Rusev or Almas. Like, I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I think Zelina Vega surprised them. I'm not sure if they actually had a plan for her to wrestle or not, and I guess they threw her in a match, and I think she kind of like impressed management, which is why she's getting a bit more opportunity in the ring, which is cool because we didn't see her in any matches while they were in NXT.
Yeah,
so it's kind of cool to see this like now on the main roster, and I think again, as talented as these guys are, I think it's just victims to now that these pay-per-views, even though this one is a little bit longer than their normal length of these shows, now that they feature both rosters, something's got to give. Not everybody's going to be able to make the main show. So unfortunately, sometimes they're going to get the short end of the stick, which it seems like Andrade has been getting since he's been called up from NXT. So, but it looks like, from what I've heard, he's impressed management and stuff like that. So, in the future, I think, we're going to see him get a little bit more of a push. And it looks like, we see some of it here as they picked up the win in this tag team match. Vega pinned Lana with a roll up using the ring ropes as leverage to win the match in the end there. So, solid little pre-show match. People were still filing into the arena. This is basically just something to warm up the crowd. Nothing special as far as anything to speak of. They just told a basic solid story. So I expect the feud to continue.
Yeah. What I'm actually hoping is that this was really to kind of get, because it's so focused on Lana and Zelina Vega, I'm hoping that this was kind of almost to get people more hyped for those two specifically, again, for Evolution. And then I'm hoping that they continue the Rusev and Almas feud, but just as Rusev and Almas, because those two can have, obviously, they can have a good campaign, I think. And because they're both really, really good, and they both have closed out SmackDown episodes, and then in the case of Rusev, he was up against AJ, I think, he was main eventing their last one. So they can both go. So I hope that they let them go and not have to have us worry about Lana trying to do Rusev moves and stuff like that.
Yeah, man, she was copying a lot of the mannerisms. I'm like, it doesn't really work. You got to do your own thing, girl.
Yeah, it's cool. I find it funny, so it's good for the novelty of it, but I don't want that to be always.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And I noticed, I don't know, have you noticed that she seems to have dropped the Russian accent?
It comes and goes. I think that's hilarious. To see, I wonder if she's Russian today. Maybe not.
Definitely the last backstage segment I saw her in, I was she did not have it at all. I was like, okay, guess they're just going with that now, Yeah.
So, and I guess the most noteworthy thing, given their long-term storyline, was that no Aiden English shenanigans or antics in that match, and I hope they don't break up Rusev Day, because I like Aiden English in that group.
Yeah, I did see. On the pre-show, they did have a little backstage segment where Aiden English said he was there to back them up, and he was going to sing them a new song, and they brushed them off. They didn't want him out there. So,
and he didn't actually this time, because lately he's been still coming in to try to help, and then somehow causing Lana to lose every time.
Yeah, so they lost again here. So I think they'll continue the feud, and hopefully they'll make a main roster show in the future.
Yeah, because I'll watch Almas do that back elbow, that spinning elbow anytime, because it looks brutal when he does it, man.
Yeah. The next matchup on the pre-show was for the Cruiserweight Championship. Cedric Alexander defending against Drew Gulak. Gulak didn't come out with any of his cohorts for this one. It was just straight up one-on-one. Good, solid Cruiserweight match between these guys. Alexander's been holding down the title since WrestleMania. So far, I think pretty much almost unbeaten so far this year. He's been having a pretty incredible 2018. So he still picked up the victory here, pinning Gulak with a roll-up to retain the title. I'm not sure if they're going to continue this, because there are some notable, contenders starting to step up on 205. But solid match between these guys. And also, again, it sucks that it seems like these 205 guys can't get off the kickoff show.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it was a solid match. I think those two guys are super talented, and they have very different styles, but they were able to work that match well. And I hope 205 Live gets some more juice going in it, because I really want to see those guys get more recognition, because they deserve it. Those guys are great.
Yeah,
they work their asses off.
It sucks when I see these guys, and I kind of noticed it during this match. And again, it's pre-show, people still filing in, but it's just they do these moves, and they should be getting bigger reactions. And I think it's just the way they tape it on Tuesdays after SmackDown, after you've already kind of seen all the big stars. So when you're watching 205, you're seeing these great matches, but the crowd just isn't there. They're already deflated, and so it's just it just doesn't come across well on TV. I feel like they need to perform in front of a fresher crowd, because they are doing, I feel like, a decent job with that show. Like I've started trying to, keep up with it. And Drake Maverick, the GM on the show, like, he's there explaining the storylines and the matches and things going on. And they really try to root it like in the competition.
Yeah.
Especially since they've brought this new guy, Drake, on as the GM. You know what I'm saying? So it's good. Like I kind of like what they're doing. Like they're trying to kind of make it like the way it was when they started the Cruiserweight Classic, making it more about in-ring action and giving these guys time to tell a story. So I think it suffers a little bit, like I remember you spoke about it like on the last show we did, like how we could tend to see a lot of the same matches, but they're starting to bring people up. Like, we're starting to see guys like Lio Rush and we're starting to see other guys get opportunities. So it's a show that I feel like it's on the rise, and I'm keeping up with it more. And I just, I wish, they would get a little bit more recognition, I guess, from the WWE, themselves.
Yeah, I hope and pray that they do, because I love, like I said, I love the cruiserweight stuff. So anything that gives them the recognition that they actually do deserve, I think is a good thing. And I think they are making some good strides in trying to kind of increase that stuff, like you said, with Drake Maverick and bringing in Lio Rush, Buddy Murphy, like, and all like they're getting some good talent in. So hopefully that will help. And I think it's good talent amongst being able to do good character stuff too. So I think that is definitely a good sign.
Yeah, I hope maybe once NXT UK kind of comes off the ground, like they do a little bit of cross promotion there, because the cruiserweight style fits in very well with what they're already kind of doing in NXT and in NXT UK. So I hope to see some crossover there.
Definitely.
The third match on the pre-show, pretty, as much as I hate to say it about the Revival, but this one was okay. Again, I hate the new music now of the B team. They retained the titles here. Would have liked to see Dash and Dawson, take the titles and probably, start to rebuild the Raw tag team division. But it seems like they're just going to keep on the comedy route with these guys. So
that's bugging me, man. I'm not going to lie. And when the B team first won, I was actually pretty excited, just because I forgot who they beat in order to get the titles. But like I'm a big fan of Bo Dallas, and like I was watching an old NXT, like I think it was like either greatest matches, like Volume 1 or whatever, like DVD that they have. And you forget how good Bo Dallas was, man. Like he was a hell of a wrestler in NXT, and he held the NXT championship for 200 plus days, like 250 days, something like that. Like he was really, really good. And once he got to the main roster, like he basically floundered. So I was happy to see him get the success again, finally, like that he's picked up some belts. But like I'm tired of them always winning. Like there's always the fluke win. Like how many times can they have another fluke win? Like it demeans the belts, and it demeans their achievement, honestly. Even though their backstage promos are hilarious, I do find them to be quite funny, but like I'm tired of it. You lose the legitimacy of the whole tag team like roster by doing this.
Yeah, especially who they're getting those fluke wins over, multiple times. It was Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy, and now the Revival, which are
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's weird. And then they switched up the music. They had some really pretty like decent music, I feel, and then they switched it up to like this whole rah-rah, kind of theme, which just sounds to me, it's like it's so kiddie. Like it just, to me, it's like they're really playing into that, like PG like aspect, I don't know. It's just, I don't like it. The guys are talented. I just don't like what they're doing with them and this whole like thing. So I don't know. I'm not happy with the tag team division on Raw right now. But the B team, they picked up the win. And like you said, it was another fluke victory as Dawson attempted to pin Curtis Axel with a small package. Dallas fell onto Axel, like reversing the small package. And he got the pin on Dawson to retain the title. So that was the kickoff show. And I'm glad I kind of watched through it. I kind of usually don't watch the pre-show unless I'm home. Like I was, again, busy with NJCC stuff this weekend. But when I watched through this, caught a backstage promo that they did with Samoa Joe, and he kind of went for like 3 or 4 minutes while they were asking him questions, and he just didn't
answer their questions.
He, like it was really good. Like just like Renee, he was like, Renee was like kind of like the first one to start talking to him, and he was like, "Oh, Renee, congratulations on becoming a 2-income household again." And what I'm saying, because Dean Ambrose just came back, and so they each person on the pre-show panel asked him a question, and it's just the way his delivery and the way he cuts the promo, like on AJ, and the way he was talking about just the mental aspect of getting into his head. And he's like every time, he's like, me and, you know, I know AJ a long time, and, you know, like every time AJ wins titles everywhere he goes, and then I show up and I take those titles from him, and it's just like, oh,
it's
man.
true,
like,
though. It's great. I like Joe is amazing. I love Samoa Joe, man. I love me some Joe.
Yeah, man, and he's had a hard road on the main roster. You know, we'll get to it when we get to the match, but that was a great little promo on the pre-show, so I'm glad I caught that, because normally that's something I probably would have missed. Leading on to the main show, though, we kicked off with the Intercontinental Championship. Dolph Ziggler was defending against Seth Rollins, and the story of this was that just Seth Rollins just couldn't get over on Dolph Ziggler for the title, because, you know, he's got the backup with Drew McIntyre, and they had a match to see if he could ban McIntyre from ringside, but Seth Rollins didn't win that. But thankfully, you know, Dean Ambrose, recovering from his arm injury, made it back just in time for the pay-per-view, so he was Seth Rollins back up for this match. Fans were very happy to get Dean back, and I'm happy to have him back too. I did feel like something's been missing from Raw without him, so he was the backup. I thought this match was pretty good. Better paced than, you know, the match that they had at Extreme Rules, which was what was it, the Iron Man match. Just the pacing of that match, I think we discussed it, seemed like to be a little off, you know, because of the crowd reaction. Yeah, but these guys, they put in some work here, man. Good fucking opener for the match, and Seth Rollins was able to pick up the win with Dean Ambrose, you know, neutralizing the interference from McIntyre. So what do you think?
I thought it was a good match. I was looking forward to this match because I like Seth and I like Dolph both quite a bit. So I was hoping that this was going to be a good one. Again, better than the last one with all the countdowns, the constant countdowns that they had. But yes, I thought it was. I really did enjoy the match. Again, a lot of good spots, a lot of good wrestling within the match. The reverse superplex into the reverse Falcon Arrow.
Oh
thing.
yeah,
that was it was really, really cool, and it looked really awesome when they did that. And just a lot of good kind of character stuff with Drew Galloway and Drew McIntyre now and Dean. Like every time Drew would try to do something insane, like truly now unhinged, Ambrose just come and just stare at him. And you're like, okay, man, all right, man, I'm good. I won't do anything.
He looks fucking crazy, right, with that new haircut he got now.
And the fact that he is jacked now. Yeah. I don't know what arm injury he had that all of a sudden allowed him to do so much more working out.
Right, he does look a little bit bigger in the upper body.
Yeah, and I think it's good. Like before, most of his stuff was to show how crazy he is and how lunatic he is, was all his mic work, which was great. But now it's just he's scarier now. Now he's crazier because he's not saying anything. He's just staring at you with those crazy eyes. Yeah. And well, okay, man, I'll back off. I'll back away. Don't worry, man. I'm good. We're good. So I like that it not only did was it a good match, but they were also able to kind of progress with just the characters that weren't even involved in the match. That's something that main roster guys are able to do well. To have in NXT, something that I think that everything's all about the in-ring action and all that kind of stuff, and there's not as much that you get. There's not as much character from the people that are not quite involved, because even the ones that are not actually in the match still there's always full of antics and lots of all of those things they do, and they always ultimately get involved. This was just purely character. There wasn't a ton of. There was still, of course, some action there, but there wasn't a ton, and it was just all purely in character to kind of keep them all away from the match, to let them actually do the wrestling within the ring. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it was good, and that's what we actually got to see. The interference wasn't really there; it was attempted. You know what I'm saying? But the people on the outside played the roles well. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And when they try to get involved, I think he pulled McIntyre off the apron, right? So he slammed his face into the ring apron, and then it looked like Dolph was setting up Seth for a super kick, and Seth was able to hit his super kick first, and then he followed it up with the curb stomp. Yeah, that was a pretty cool way to end the match and stuff. So kind of feel bad for Dolph. I like like the push he's been getting lately because I always feel like he's been shortchanged. And I felt like the last few months he's been stepping up on Raw, and I like it. I like the renewed push, and we got to see where they go with him because I think his contract situation's kind of like up in the air. So I'm not sure if he's planning on re-signing or what, which may have been the reason for the loss here. So it's gonna be interesting to see where that lands.
That will be interesting. I think it'll all be dependent on what they decide to do with Drew. I guess if they keep the two of them together, I think that'll still keep Ziggler in where he should be, like kind of at the forefront. Yeah. But if they decide to give Drew a singles push, I'm worried that, like you said, that'll keep Dolph kind of just out, and maybe he'll just let his contract last. I'm not too sure. But I think he's a great heel. Like he's a great worker too. Like that guy can wrestle, man. Yeah, man. So I think they need to keep him in.
He's one of the best. I think they should re-sign him and give him some kind of guarantees. Like I feel like he's earned it. He's a veteran there in this company now. And he's one of the best performers they have in ring and on the microphone. I just feel like they don't utilize him to his full potential. And I think it is, of course, what we say, he's not the smallest guy, but he's not the biggest either. And I've always heard backstage stories that's kind of what's held him back. So, he has Drew McIntyre, who's a big, solid, beast-looking dude as a heater. So both of them together is a boon for both of them. I feel like the dynamic of them together has been working, and I feel like they need to continue that.
Yeah, I think it would be like when they did the bar, or when it was still Cesaro and Sheamus. Like when they brought those two together. Even though I'm a huge Cesaro mark, I was like, why are they forcing him to go in the tag division? But they were right, man. Putting those two together got them bigger than they ever were individually. Even though Sheamus had the title and Cesaro has had multiple titles and all that kind of stuff, but as a tag team, man, those two are more over now as a team than they ever were individually. Yep. So I think it's keeping Ziggler and Galloway together, I think would be a good idea.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's good. It's working. It's working for me, at least.
Oh, McIntyre. I keep calling it Drew. I keep doing that.
Yeah, the next matchup was for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. The Bludgeon Brothers, Harper and Rowan, defending against the New Day, which I think Big E and Xavier Woods were the ones that actually were participating in the match. Kofi Kingston was on the outside. Okay matchup. They gave him a little bit of time, but the match ended in a disqualification where it looked like the New Day were getting the upper hand, and Rowan struck Woods and Big E with the mallet, and the Bludgeon Brothers basically laid them out. So they retained the titles off the DQ, but New Day picks up the win technically. And we got some news coming out of the match that Rowan was injured, and they followed this up on SmackDown with the rematch. And props to Rowan for working the match. I didn't see it myself yet personally, but I heard it was a pretty hard-hitting match.
It was a hell of a match. I'm good on him, man. Much respect for going through an even more brutal match. I think it was a no DQ match. After being injured, that's very, very impressive.
Yeah, it just shows the dedication that some of the times these guys have, and what they're willing to do just to kind of just have the continuity of the championships, so it doesn't have to be like a strip them of the titles type deal. He toughed it out, man. So props to him.
We won't really talk about SmackDown or anything, but I think it's worth noting that the SmackDown match I think was a better match, even though I enjoyed the match on SummerSlam. There were some cool spots there too, but I think I thought the ending was, I didn't like the way that the SummerSlam match ended. I didn't like that they got the DQ, even though, it is kind of to character a bit because they're kind of those monster heel tag teams, and it's using their hammers, which I don't like the hammers. It's just it's like Triple H's sledgehammer because you can't use it like you're supposed to. It always looks gimmicky. Yeah. There's no way you can make that legitimate. Because you always swing it the wrong way that they would swing a hammer. So it never looks good. But
and they're so big, and the hammers are so big, so it doesn't even look right. You could tell the weight is not there, so you could just tell they can't make that.
But there was some awesome spots in the match. Again, Big E is a very strong dude. I will say that he did some very impressive stuff, and also Xavier Woods, man. We talked about Velveteen Dream doing his elbow drop onto EC3 on the apron. Big E did his elbow drop onto the floor. It was nuts. that's insane. I would never want to do that. Like that's just all right. I'm gonna hurt my hip doing this move. I mean, like it's voluntarily like injuring yourself.
It definitely doesn't feel good. That's why Mick Foley like has hip issues, when he always used to do his little diving, elbow drop from the ring apron to the outside. It's concrete. There's a little bit of padding there, but it's not like, when you land in the ring and you get a little bit of bounce.
Yeah, and he did it just like off of the fucking turnbuckle. That's insane. But But again, good on them. Those like everybody in this match worked their ass off, and I give them all the credit. And I'm glad that the Bludgeon Brothers are getting their due as champions, because I'm a big Luke Harper fan. Like I think he's great.
Me too.
And I think that Eric Rowan has really stepped up. Like he's gone up to that level. Like I never really, he was my least favorite of the Wyatt family.
Exactly, mine too.
But he's definitely picked up his game or stepped up his game, and it really shows. Like those guys are doing well. But ultimately, I started getting tired of always squash matches, even though they were always entertaining squash matches that they did, because they always did them somewhat differently. But I still got tired of, like, we get it, they're awesome, they're big monsters. But I got a little bit tired of it when we talked about it. Like the SmackDown tag division is deep. Like they have some great tag teams that they could use. So hopefully they'll do more of that now that it's not just the monster tag team booking anymore.
Exactly. And, and probably, now we're going to see some of these other teams get highlighted now that Rowan's going to be out for a few months with the injury. You got some type of bicep injury, and I think they said he's probably going to be out for at least 4 months. Yeah,
which is unfortunate. Hopefully they'll keep Harper going in something. I'm not really sure what, but hopefully they'll keep him going.
Hopefully they'll do something. And now the New Day are the tag champions. Now basically the whole division comes back and play. It's a open division. As much as I love the Usos, I wouldn't want to see them going at it with the New Day again. But now we got the Bar, we got the Club is there. We got some new tag teams that they can maybe feature now on SmackDown. So
I forgot about the Club, even though I loved them. I forgot about them because they haven't wrestled in a while.
Yeah, they haven't done anything. And again, we spoke about that on the last wrestling show we did too. It's just with SmackDown only having 2 hours, they have to kind of rotate their roster. Not everybody could be featured, unfortunately. Yeah. So, all right. So that was all right. Pretty decent. New Day wins by DQ technically for SummerSlam. The next match was Braun Strowman defending his Money in the Bank contract against Kevin Owens. And the interesting thing here was that if he lost in any way, he would lose the contract. So count out, disqualification, which I thought would kind of come into play here once they announced that on the stipulation, but they went in a completely different direction, and this turned out to be one of the squash matches on the show.
It was funny, but like I don't get it, and I feel bad for Kevin Owens, because like he's ultimately the loser in this whole feud, because basically like I love Kevin Owens, like that guy is great, and I feel bad for him that he got squashed like this. But like this whole feud has just been Braun just kind of brutalizing him, putting him through all this garbage, like literally sometimes. And then they set up all these stipulations. So I thought, okay, so since they don't want to have Braun lose, like get pinned, this is how you get the briefcase off of him. And then he still did it. So I don't understand the point of any of that at all. Like that whole feud. I don't get it. Like there literally was no point other than Kevin Owens is pretty funny. Let's let him do funny stuff. Like that's really the only thing that happened.
Yeah, I don't like the way they've been portraying Kevin Owens in this feud with Braun Strowman, because you know what? Like he's been playing the chicken shit heel, but he was never playing the chicken shit heel before. He was always kind of a little bit more of a badass heel. The prize fighter. He went out to the ring, he kicked ass, he won matches, and a lot of the times he won matches he didn't have to cheat to win. Like he would just win straight up. So like I get it. Braun's the monster and stuff like that, but Owens took that big fucking bump in the cage match at Extreme Rules.
All of that stuff. What was the point of any of that? Because ultimately he just got squashed, and now he has no briefcase. And now what are they going to do with him? Like I have no idea where he goes now.
Yeah, it's damaging, and again, like I brought it up earlier, like Kevin Owens was a top heel on Raw. He was a former Universal Champion, and to make him look so bad against Braun Strowman, I'm like, damn, and I get it, Braun's a monster, like that's the way they've been pushing Braun, but this did like Kevin Owens no favors at all.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And,
again, I thought it was funny, but I feel bad. Like I don't understand the point of it.
yeah, and he took a couple of, big bumps throughout the match. The match wasn't long at all, but he took a few bumps on the outside, a shoulder tackle from Strowman into the barricade. I took another bump, like when he bumped into him and took a flip on the outside, and then he also took a choke slam onto the into the metal part of the entrance ramp, which was
dude, that oof.
Yeah, what I'm saying, that hurts, especially considering Kevin Owens' size. He's not a small dude. And then Strowman threw him back into the ring for the running power slam and pinned him 1, 2, 3 super quick, man. So I just felt bad, and I hope Owens can recover from this. I hope that he's rewarded for the way he's been portrayed here, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I can't figure out what they're gonna do with him next, but hopefully there is something good for him because he deserves it, man. That guy is awesome.
Yeah, after these bumps and especially off the cage, and then the bumps on the outside here, man, it's like, yeah. Hopefully there's plans to build them back up in the future.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. We know now, like, why. We'll get to it towards the end of the show, but we know why they had Braun retained a contract, and we'll get into it once we get into the main event. So the next match was Carmella defending the SmackDown Women's Championship in a triple threat match against Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. The story here was that this was supposed to be a one-on-one match between Becky and Carmella. Becky being the first SmackDown Women's Champion, and she hasn't had the title and since she's lost it maybe a couple of years at this point. And so it was her basically getting back in the title picture, and then Charlotte comes back to SmackDown and gets the opportunity to get put in the match, wins the match, so it's a triple threat. So now it's kind of like she's stealing the spotlight a bit from Becky. Carmella has been retaining the title since she cashed in her Money in the Bank briefcase, and strong wins against Charlotte herself and Asuka. You know what I'm saying? So the question was whether she was going to retain here, and I think they had a good triple threat match. It didn't devolve into like a team up with Charlotte and Becky against Carmella. It was definitely like every woman for herself. Becky wanting to prove herself. Charlotte, of course, is just the top female that they got. So they did a good job, I felt. Carmella kind of was like almost like the non-factor here. And the story was almost completely between Charlotte and Becky. Charlotte, between all the moves and stuff, she was able to hit the, forget what the name of it is.
Natural selection.
Natural selection. Yeah, she hit it on Becky Lynch for the 1, 2, 3. And you saw the fans, they cheered, they kind of popped, Charlotte won the belt. But then Becky congratulating Charlotte, the fans started booing, because you could definitely tell they were in Becky's corner for this match. Yeah. And they started booing once they saw the embrace, but they kind of got what they wanted because Becky turned on Charlotte and gave her the only beatdown that maybe we all saw coming, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you tell me what you think. But the crowd went crazy. You know what I'm saying? They were just cheering the beat down to Charlotte, which is, hey, it's New York. Sometimes they call it like Bizarro Land. That's what you get sometimes. And so Charlotte wins the title. Becky gives her a beat down. And now, that's it. The former best friends. What do you think?
I thought it was a good match. I liked the psychology of, like, because obviously Carmella is not as good as the other two, and she knows it. And so in the heel way of doing things, she tried to pit them against each other, try to pit Charlotte and Becky against each other. I like that character part quite a bit. And I thought the match itself was actually pretty good, with the better wrestlers having kind of carrying most of the match. And I thought the ending was actually a pretty smart way to do it. Like, so it was like they've been really kind of pushing the disarmer for Becky Lynch for the last couple months or so, like how awesome of a finisher and a submission that is. And so she finally locked in the disarmer on Carmella, and then Charlotte does the natural selection, like you said. And so I thought it was actually a pretty smart way to do it. Like, so it was just, she was just out wrestled, and it was only at that moment. Like it could have gone any other way, but at that moment she left her. She was so concerned with trying to lock in that disarmer that she missed. She lost track of Charlotte, and Charlotte was able to sneak that move in there. I thought it was cool, and I loved that the crowd really popped when Becky turned heel. When she turned, I thought that was hilarious and awesome, and it shows how over Becky is. And what I think is the unfortunate thing is that I think Charlotte is a better heel than Becky is as a heel. So I think this has kind of gone the wrong direction as far as that goes. I think it would have been better the other way around. It would have been better if Charlotte did do something kind of shady to win or anything like that, or let's say like they just did something to have Charlotte do the turn. I think would have been better overall. Because I think that would be better long term, and then like I think I don't know ultimately what they're gonna do. Maybe Charlotte versus I've heard Charlotte versus Ronda at like WrestleMania or something like that.
You know that's
I think it's what they're gonna go for.
Yeah.
And I think because Ronda is such a huge face, like you have Charlotte as the heel, and I think then that match works better. That one works better down the line.
Yeah.
So I think that it is almost a little bit short sighted to do it this way. But if it does lead to more Charlotte versus Becky matches, I think they'll have good matches together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm cool with that. I think that part will work. I just don't understand the booking of it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying because Charlotte definitely is the better heel, but maybe they're trying to go in that different direction because she's been in that role before, and we've never seen, at least not on the main roster, we haven't seen Becky portrayed in that way yet. So I'm kind of interested to see if she's able to pull it off, but just because the fans are behind her so much, and she played the baby face like so well. It'd be interesting to see like how she's trying to, if she's going to be able to play that heel role. And, like, I don't know, like I feel like they might, I know they're definitely going to be building towards Charlotte and Ronda for sure, which is why, I think they both won their titles. And I think that's going to be built up to be a WrestleMania match.
Yeah.
And possibly, WrestleMania main event, possibly. Like if the women are going to main event that show, like the way they say, they want to, and they kind of want to break that barrier, I think that would probably be the match to do it, especially with both of them being champions, so I don't know, we'll see where they go there. I think eventually they might turn Ronda heel, and maybe that's why they're keeping Charlotte babyface, but I don't know, we'll get into it, and we'll definitely be talking about it as these pay-per-views go on,
yeah, for sure.
So it was a good match, like you said, just Becky looked like she was gonna secure that win, and like you said, she lost track of Charlotte and she was able to hit natural selection for the 1, 2, 3. So good match, and it's just funny seeing the crowd pop for the heel turn. And, so just interested to see where that goes in the future. This next match, man, was probably my most anticipated because these guys, the way what they've done in the ring in the past, I was interested to see what they were going to do on this level. So this next match for the WWE Championship, AJ Styles defending against Samoa Joe, classic TNA matchup here.
There even were TNA chants.
And there was a chant. Awesome. Yeah. There was a TNA chant, in the very beginning of the match. So the story here was, Joe finally getting his title shot, just kind of being dominant in general on SmackDown. AJ being the dominant champion, taking on all challengers. So Joe was named number 1 contender by Paige on SmackDown. Joe attacks AJ from behind, throws him into the coquina clutch, and then starts questioning his family values and whether he values being champion more than actually spending time with his wife and kids at home. So definitely a different dynamic than we've seen from these guys in the past, because in TNA it's basically not that they didn't do storylines, they did do storyline, but it was basically all about the match with these guys, just because the incredible in-ring action that these guys could pull off. So just an interesting angle for these guys' first one-on-one matchup on television in WWE, and I'm glad for their first time ever in this company, it happened on a stage like this at SummerSlam and for the WWE Championship. So what do you think of the match? Because I thought they did a great job here.
Yeah, this was my most anticipated match just because I love them in TNA. I thought that they had great campaigns together, and again, I was a huge X Division fan, so I love this just based on who was in it.
Yeah,
I wasn't crazy about this story like leading up to like this feud because it seemed relatively hastily put together. Almost.
I do agree.
There wasn't much build, and the whole wife storyline, like the whole like it seems so old school to me. Like it's like old school WWE, old school ECW, old school TNA. Like I'm like, I don't know if I want to see this. This is dumb. And then the letter, like when he read the letter from Wendy Styles, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna hate this. But kudos to Joe, I think, in this case, because even like AJ's responses have all been fairly lame to that. So it's kudos to Joe for making that like whole thing.
It's his delivery
like
and
it
stuff.
is like
Yeah.
that guy can cut an incredible promo.
Mm-hmm.
He's super talented on the mic, but thankfully super talented in the ring, because this was a great match. And it was, again, it's all the in-ring psychology associated with the great spots too. So it was the level of emotion that they were able to have in there made it so much more. And I guess having the family dynamic part of it is what kind of did that and kind of pushed it that extra mile. So I'm glad it's working, and they're still continuing it, which is interesting. And I don't know if I would have liked that, but it's working, so I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
But like it was, they had some really cool stuff in this match. I thought this match was great, and some things that I wasn't expecting, and then I love just Joe just yanking the mic at random parts throughout the match just to kind of taunt AJ by talking to his wife and kids. I think it's just hilarious and such a smarmy heel move. I didn't think I would like. I thought, again, it felt old school to me. And I thought that like they were retreading really old water, but it works. Like that guy can pull it off, man. Joe is great.
Joe's definitely the one that made it work. Like he pulled the mic during the entrance when the announcer was about to announce AJ, and you know, because Wendy and AJ's daughter were in the crowd, so Joe pointed that out, and AJ got the mic back and was like, yeah, you know, they're here to see me kick your ass, da, 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 da. So it just added that little bit of extra dynamic, a little bit more of like a personal flair than it just being okay. It's just them having a match, you know, and you know that's the only downside though that I did see because of the emotion, you know, Joe bringing AJ's family into it, and then even just, you know, shouting wife out right there in the beginning of the match. I kind of expected it to kind of start a little bit quicker, you know, kind of AJ going after Joe, you know, for, you know, speaking about his family. And they started the match almost like just like a regular wrestling match, you know, collar and elbow tie up, where I would have probably preferred to see a faster start just because of the emotion involved, you know, like the way we saw towards the end of the match. But maybe because of that, you know, that's the ending of the match that we got. Joe getting on the mic again and saying he was going to be their daddy now, which, you know, caused AJ to go into a frenzy and attack him. Maybe that's why they opted not to do it in the beginning of the match, but just real good match. Nice build up, great story to it. The moves that they were hitting were snug, you know, like I like that
they've battled before and have battled for years, because some of the stuff that they did is like it was so fast and it was like it's so well done that like they trust each other completely.
Yeah. I love the way they sold for each other and stuff, like, you know, and just the story, like I said, just them going at it, just feeling each other out, and then AJ, you know, throwing his leg kicks, and you could see Joe like, all right, like you caught me, and then, you know, AJ tried to leg kick him again, and he checks it and hits his own leg kick, and the way AJ sold that, like, you know, it was just like, whoa.
Yes.
And then, you know, and then great stuff. And then he counters with a punch, you know, and Joe looks like he's catching AJ like square on the chin, like boom, you know, throwing him in the corner, and then he threw another kick at him, which got his legs out from under him. So just certain little, you know, spots they were just going at each other where I'm like, man, like it looks good. Like it looks like they're just laying it in. And again, you know, just telling that story, because they've been in the ring multiple times, but doing it for the first time here in WWE, you know, fans were anticipating, maybe they thought they were going to see more, but they're going to continue this feud. And like I said earlier in the show, there's so much more these guys could do. And they went a solid 25 minutes and gave you a lot, and it didn't even scratch the surface of what these guys could pull off with each other. So yeah,
it really is like a testament to those two being two of the best. Like it not only can like, because they're very accurate with their strikes, and then they're so good at selling that they can do those kinds of things. Like there's just so many times that like Joe would like you said would kick AJ's legs, and it would like knock the legs out of him from under him and all that, because AJ would just flop onto his face. Like it looked so good, and they were able to do that, like the back and forth, like you're gonna do this and I'm gonna do this, like so you kick my legs, I'll kick your legs kind of thing. They just did so many of those little things that I thought were great, and even I think the commentary was also really good in this one, with mostly from Corey Graves, like when like AJ did the Styles Clash, and then didn't pin Joe, like he couldn't pin Joe out of it, because and then so that was all Corey's, like he's only able to trap one arm, so he could get all of it in there. I'm like, That's a smart way to do it. Like that's
Exactly.
good to have them keep going, and to leave. There's still more that they can do. And so even when Joe locked in the clutch, the coquina clutch, like it wasn't locked in fully, like an anaconda, like he would, like, so it wasn't the full body clutch. So he didn't put him to sleep with that.
Yeah.
Or as opposed to on SmackDown this week, like he put AJ to sleep
In seconds.
because he locked it in all the way. Like, so it's just really smart. And again, just like with the Gargano Ciampa stuff, like it's almost like they had this stuff planned out, like from the beginning, like not just for the match, but like all the way down the line for almost like the whole feud, so that they can do, okay, we're not going to lock in the clutch all the way in this match, so that later on when we do lock in the clutch, we can put you to sleep then, so we can keep this match going. Like, I thought it was so smart in retrospect. Like when you see all the other pieces of it, like it makes so much sense, and it's really kudos to them and to whoever it is that's writing this. If it's not them, like, kudos, because that's a really smart way to do it.
Yeah, psychology 101, man. They did a good job.
Yeah, definitely. And like, so do you know, like, is that actually AJ's wife and kid?
Yeah,
that they've shown.
Yeah,
like I almost feel bad for the kid, like, because this stuff, like the way that it ultimately ended is that AJ snaps, right, and then so he's just wailing Joe with the chair and gets DQ'd. So Joe wins by DQ, but doesn't win the title. And then AJ goes over the barricade to talk to like his wife and to his kid, and his kid like,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then his kid recoils because like, you're covered in blood, like, and like that looked legit,
real,
like,
right?
Like, so like that made me wonder if it was an actor, because like I don't know if they were planning on busting AJ open in this, but like it was perfect, like, for, again, assuming they're going kind of like a similar parallel storyline to Gargano Ciampa, like where it's like AJ went too far in order to try to beat Joe, like he ended up going too far, and look at what it's cost him, kind of a thing. Now he's going to cost him the family. And all that. Like, if that was the intent, like, this was so perfect for that. Like, because I don't know if they could have planned to have, if they, again, being his real kid, like, I don't know if they could have planned to have her recoil, like, okay, when daddy comes up, pretend like you're scared. Like, I don't know if you can tell like a 4-year-old kid to do that. Like, you can't do that. So it was just perfect. Like, so it couldn't have gone better from that standpoint. Like, I couldn't believe it, like how that worked out like that.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I didn't even really like notice that. That was definitely his wife. I can't say if that was really his kid, but I would think so. If she was there, with the mom. So, but like you said, I didn't even notice that point, and that was a good point. And he was apologizing, for going too far, and maybe that might be a direction that they go here, because Joe just keeps making it personal.
Yeah.
So just trying to light, AJ's fire in that way to have him like make those type of mistakes. So I'm glad they're continuing it, because these guys are just, excellent. They could have excellent matches. I think the next pay-per-view is Hell in the Cell. So if it's for the title and that's a Hell in the Cell match,
ooh, that'd be a good match.
Wow. Like, I feel like I don't like the theme pay-per-views, because like a Hell in the Cell match should be like a culmination,
Yeah.
But putting these guys in a cage, like, they would just kill it, I'm sure. You know what I'm saying? So,
are all the Hell in a Cell matches in a cage? They're not, right? Like, they're like, I think when TNA had that one, that they had one pay-per-view that was like all in a cage.
Lockdown, yeah.
They don't do that with
not
a Hell in a Cell match, at least, right?
Yeah, no, you get just probably 2, which are probably the title matches.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like, or
Lockdown was great. Like when they would do that, like the whole entire pay-per-view was innovative, because the whole thing was in that cage.
Yeah, and even though it was, every match was a cage match, they try to still make every match with different stipulations.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like that, which was cool,
I missed that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find my Lockdown DVDs now. I guess I'm out of it.
Oh yeah, I got a ton that I could go through. I've got the history of TNA, which is pretty good. So, good match here. The next
the start of a great feud. I hope this goes, because this can go a year and they can still be good, but hopefully it goes at least till the next pay-per-view cycle.
Yeah. Do you think you might see? I mean, I just don't think so, because like I said, I just feel like Joe, he's had to work so hard for everything that he's getting here in the company, and he's had some setbacks with little, couple of injuries. He had to miss WrestleMania and stuff like that because of that. And I know initially when he came here, he wasn't promised anything. Like they told him, like, you know what, like you're here for NXT, and I think you can help these guys out, but don't think you're gonna, get called up to the main roster. They were like, you're late 30s. I don't think Vince is looking for, a guy like you.
Exactly.
And he had to prove them. Yeah, he had to prove them wrong. You know what I'm saying? And he made it to the main roster. And now to be in a spot like this and just to be featured in a championship match shows that he's opened some eyes. So I hope he continues to get a good push, and being on SmackDown is the place to get it.
Yeah, I just my biggest fear is that they split them up at the next like superstar shakeup or whatever. Like they put AJ on Raw, or just they split up Joe and AJ. I think I don't want them to do that because I think they can have the greatest campaign in there. But if anything, I even if they stop their feud, I hope they both stay on SmackDown with the other people that they have in SmackDown. It can be great.
Yeah, a lot of good matchups that they got there.
Yeah.
So the next segment was a in-ring segment with Elias, doing his usual spiel. You know what I'm saying?
That was great.
He promised the people in Brooklyn a concert, so he did his usual ragging on the crowd, which is so funny. And
Dude, I love Elias.
Yeah, he's so good. He's so good. And when I saw this, I was like, man, was this like a work, or did he really like fuck up? Because it seemed like, so wait, he's basically in the ring and he's about to start his song and the guitar breaks, it snaps. And the crowd is just getting on him, what I'm saying, chanting "you fucked up" and whatnot. Yeah. and he got up and he tossed the guitar, and I think he was like almost said like "fuck" or something like that. And then the segment like ended abruptly. So I was like, was that supposed to happen like that? Like, because I'm sure they had him in this little thing with Bobby Lashley. So I was like, even though they didn't have a scheduled match, I figured, okay, they would have probably done what they were doing on Raw. He's going to have a little concert, and then Lashley's going to come out and hit a move, and that's it. And it just seemed to end abruptly. So it did. So funny.
I assumed that it was a work. I'm not positive though, like because. He did act pretty angry with all of that kind of stuff, but if it was not intentional, like it was all. I mean, that's exactly how his character would have reacted. Like, so I think it's great. I thought it was so funny when I saw it that I assumed that it was intentional. I don't know if they're gonna do like a who broke the guitar like angle, which I think would be stupid, but. But I thought for what this was, I thought it was hilarious. Like, and it was short, and this pay-per-view needed short stuff.
Yeah,
and I thought it was a funny joke I read somewhere that like this was the next squash match of the evening was when Elias squashed his guitar.
Basically, well, I'm still cool to see him in a segment and stuff like that. Didn't have to be a match.
Like that guy, like he's so good on the mic. Like he's such a great heel that he can do stuff like this and just be totally over, which I think again, shout out to Tim K who hates Elias.
He doesn't see his greatness yet. He doesn't see it yet. Yeah. Oh man, but that was cool. And then so basically that led to the next match, and man, there's a lot of matches here. Daniel Bryan versus The Miz, and this was hyped as being 8 years in the making. Incredible, what The Miz has been doing. He's been here since 2006, I believe. So he's 12 years plus in WWE, and Daniel Bryan's been here since 2010. And from the very beginning, they've basically been kind of going at each other, and you saw it in the video package hyping the match. Like, I love when they have something like so long term like that, and they can pull footage, from so many matches and so many segments, and it really makes sense. And the story here was incredible because Daniel Bryan did have to retire, and for the couple of years that he was retired and couldn't wrestle. It was like it did seem like they were building a feud with The Miz, and it's like, man, what are they doing? Because they can't pay this off. Bryan can't wrestle anymore, and The Miz cut that incredible promo on Talking Smack that was unscripted, very real. between him and Brian, and you know there's a sense of truth here. Like, you know, these guys are working together, and they put on a pretty good match. But I think like what Brian says about the Miz kind of being soft and wrestling a softer style, like he truly believes that, because Brian wrestles that style that he goes all in, which is the reason why he had to retire for a little bit, because of the injuries and stuff. So what did you think of the match? Because I thought just the amount of time, as far as like the years invested, you know, to kind of tell this story, and you could tell they're going to continue to feud after this match. But for being this part of Brian's comeback and starting this feud with the Miz, I thought they got off to a good start. So what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And this is one, the story is great with this one. The build up to this has just been fantastic, and the fact that we finally can actually get to see them wrestle and kind of battle each other in the ring, I was pumped for this. And I thought it was probably as good a match as it could have been for their kind of first time finally, finally meeting in the ring, kind of a thing where like Miz was doing all of Daniel Bryan's moves and all that, and they just kind of like they were one-upping each other with the same moves, kind of a thing. I thought that was really cool. And just in general, knowing that this wasn't going to be, or assuming that this wasn't going to be like the final match, I thought it was a good match. What I read somewhere, like if they were going to fantasy book it, like ways that they could have done the storyline differently, and which is one that I think that they can do kind of moving forward. And I think they may have alluded to, but because the Miz ended up winning this one by cheating with Maurice's help, he grabbed some brass knucks, and then with the power of the punch, took out Daniel Bryan, which I thought was hilarious. But like they showed backstage, like it was Daniel Bryan and Brie and back talking, and then Daniel Bryan was like all pissed off and was starting to question like his comeback and all that kind of stuff. And I think that kind of falls in line with what I thought would have been a better storyline that someone else came up with, was that like this should have been like a retirement match. It should have been like if it should have been basically if Bryan lost, then he wouldn't re-sign his contract. Or something like that. That would have created some better stakes for this and all that kind of stuff. And I would have liked that. Though now, I think this could actually be they could be sowing those seeds now by him losing in this one, and by him being so angry and starting to question his comeback. I think that could be a good thing that they do and make it that kind of a more long-term thing. Like, so this can be more storyline of the Miz talking about like, see, you shouldn't have come back. It was pointless. What are you doing now? For some reason, because the Bellas are back, all of a sudden, like, look at your wife. You're going to deprive her. You're going to risk potential injury to your wife, and don't you love her and all that kind of. So I can see them increasing the stakes that way and making it more personal. Not just between the Miz and Bryan, but like families now. So I can see that is a way that they can continue this and make it more viable and make it even more emotional. So I'm cool with that. I like that if that's the way they go, because I think that's a pretty genius way to work that real life part. Even if Bryan is already signed, let's say you don't share that with the audience, but you bring in some real life stuff and keep the kind of blending of the truth and the story in together with these two, and I think it would work out really well.
And that's a great idea. Like, I didn't even think about it like that, and that would be cool if they build up to something like that, like a retirement match, like you said. And it does make sense considering that backstage promo that we did see with Brie and Bryan and him questioning, his comeback, and him saying like he failed because he lost to the Miz.
Yeah. I'm just worried that. So this is now they set a match on SmackDown where it's Miz and Maurice versus Daniel Bryan and Brie, and so now it's yet another like husband and wife pairing that they're doing, and I'm like, why do they keep pairing up all these are they trying to push the mixed match tag again, or whatever, or is it just supposed to be like these are all here? Here's all these husbands and wives together. I don't know what they're doing, but they seem to be pushing a lot of that all of a sudden. It's making me nervous.
Well, I think some of it has to do with the cross promotion because now, Miz and Maurice got their show on USA, and then you got Total Divas and Total Bellas that Brian is on with, the wives. So it's probably just to kind of like push that a little bit more, and it gives them the opportunity to kind of shout that out, like, oh, hey, the Miz, and and they tend to kind of work in those storylines from those shows, like on TV. So
yeah, they do. And I guess like because Lana has also been on Total Divas or Bellas, whichever one that is, and so like that could be why they're also kind of doing now. They keep pushing like the mixed tag stuff with her and Rusev, and I was just like, just please don't tell me next week isn't going to be Naomi and is it Jay? Or is it Jimmy? Whichever Uso she's married to. Jimmy. Like, I just don't want them to all of a sudden have all of them pairing up with their respective significant others. Like I don't want to see that.
Yeah, because then it becomes awkward if they eventually break up. I was thinking about that
like
earlier. Cena and Bella, and then even like I remember like backstage, segments with Austin and like Deborah back in the day, and I'm like, they're not together anymore. So you're not going to see that footage much anymore on WWE TV. But yeah, decent start to the feud here. Miz using the brass knucks, like you said, to use the power of the punch to get the 1, 2, 3 on Daniel Bryan. So shout out to William Regal, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So man, just chugging along here, man. Lots of matches. This was another squash. So we had Baron Corbin versus Finn Balor, and again, this was a rematch from Extreme Rules. And I think Balor, it seemed like kind of got the fluke victory over Baron Corbin. Did he win at the last pay-per-view, or did Corbin win?
No, Balor won.
Balor won, right? Yeah. So he kind of pulled it out against Corbin. So this was like a rematch. Corbin still saying he could take Balor, and Balor surprised him by coming out in the demon getup, which we haven't seen in a while. I think we hadn't seen the demon since.
I think it's only like the second time or something like that, and that's it.
Yeah, they've not used the demon character on television at all, like to the detriment of Finn Balor. I feel like that's something they should pull out every once in a while. Like it's you're leaving money on the table when you don't because it's so over. But he pulled it out here, and basically, Corbin got no offense. This was all Finn Balor, and got it in his entrance. He got in, some offense on the outside. Threw Corbin back in the ring, hit the coup de grace for the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 quick victory. So
I thought it was hilarious,
and
I thought that Baron Corbin sold it really well. Like
the fear.
Exactly. Because it's basically just some dude in body paint. But he made it seem like it was so much scarier. And like the promo the next week, or not the next week, the promo on Raw was great. Like he's like, I had a match with Finn Balor, and showed. The demon showed up instead. All the smoke was there, and I was getting him. I couldn't see past the smoke. Like he's making up all these great excuses. They were hilarious from a heel authority figure point of view. I thought it was just really funny, and again, glad it was a squash match because there's a lot of matches on this card. So I think it spotlighted Finn. I hope this means that like he's getting a bit of a push, and because this is like, I'm hoping it's more than just you're really short, buddy. Let's fight. Like I hope it's more than just that, and that they will feud on more than just you're just this little dude, and let him actually like wrestle, because that's another guy. He's a great wrestler too. He just hasn't been able to really showcase it because I don't know why, to be honest.
Raw. Yeah, I mean it's just to touch on it, it's just because of the just Raw. It's Monday Night Raw. Like not everybody's gonna be on top, and I feel like he could be a top guy, but
he was at one point, like he was the first Universal Champion, man.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like
the injury derailed him, and really then he never got back into that spot and that push that he apparently was gonna get that first time. Because remember, he was only on Raw about a month before catching that injury, and And he was getting pushed. He won, he got pushed to the title, in his first pay-per-view, and unfortunately caught the injury. So I could only imagine, what we would have gotten from that title reign with the Demon and him defending it every month. Like I picture it would have been similar to his NXT title run, and then the run he had in NXT. But, with that injury, and then he returned, and it just seemed like he was just lost in the shuffle. You had Brock, you had Roman, you had so many other guys. And apparently they just made him kind of work his way back up, and apparently still hasn't gotten back to that level he was at. So
but I'm hoping with Brock gone, like that'll change now.
That's gonna change, yeah.
Or at least put him in the IC title belt picture or something like that. Just let him wrestle more, and try to just get some more legitimacy to him, because now all he is just a big goofy smile now. That's all he's got.
Yeah, and lost in the shuffle. It just seems like he's just coming out for matches and doesn't it just seems like there's no long-term planning for him. Like, he's been feuding with Corbin, and that's fine, but it's like you said, the basis for the feud is just stupid, and they're just coming out and having a match. Like, there's no meat there, there's not much. It's very shallow. So just cool to see the Demon again, just because it's been so long, and like you said, hopefully it means there's a renewed push for him in the future. So
I thought it was funny. I think clearly they're doing kind of a Spider-Man Venom thing with his makeup, but my buddy was like, he looks like the Boogeyman. He really did look like the Boogeyman.
Yeah. It was cool though. It was cool to see. Glad, just got the quick offense, the quick win, and it seems to revitalize the crowd, because again, it's a long event, and now that we're getting later into the event, the energy does get sapped from the crowd. So I think, seeing the entrance and, the Demon and the makeup, it kind of woke the crowd up in a way,
Yeah.
So unfortunately, though, it seemed like this next match it's still kind of deflated them. I almost forgot this was on the card still, but it was for the United States Championship. Shinsuke Nakamura defending against Jeff Hardy, and again, they had a decent match. They didn't seem to get as much time as some of the other matches on the card, but understandable considering how late into the show this was. I thought they had decent back and forth, but the thing that stuck out to me in this match, man, was some of the bumps that Hardy took.
Yeah, dude.
Freaking, I think this was the setup for the end of the match, where he basically tried to hit Shinsuke with a swanton bomb, and he missed him, but he tried to hit him on the ring apron. So he freaking jumped off the top rope, did a swanton onto the ring apron, basically crashed and burned to the outside.
Yeah.
And then caught the Kinshasa, and Shinsuke picked up the victory. But I'm like, damn, man, Hardy should not have to be taking bumps like that at his age. And what do you think when you saw that? Because I cringed.
When I saw, I definitely cringed too. And because all the news has been that recently that he's been wrestling injured and all that kind of stuff, or he's just banged up, and just in general, he's worn out and needs some time off to recover. And then to see him do stuff like that, I'm like, what the hell is going on, man? But then somebody had mentioned it in either some review or in a podcast that I listened to, and I took a look at it again. If you do watch that spot again, it's actually very smartly done. Because he's kind of doing it swanton style, so his arms are out, and his I guess it's his left arm when he jumps off actually hooks the top rope, and it kind of pulls him in towards it, so he doesn't land. It looked like he just crashed his back onto the apron, but it didn't really. So it kind of it hooked him in, and so he kind of landed on his butt, on the apron. The butt is what actually hit the apron. So it was very well controlled. Surprisingly, I thought he was just insane. Yeah. But when you look at it like that, I'm like, oh wow, that actually was pretty well done. Good job, Jeff. I was happy, because most of the stuff he's been doing just has been what are you doing, man? Slow down, or just. I'm not crazy. I haven't been really crazy about his whole return to WWE, because it's been very old school Jeff Hardy. There hasn't really been much evolution over the years. And granted, he was almost ahead of the time. So he was way above. He was doing this extreme stuff before anyone else. So it's still very impressive, but it's also the same kind of moves that he's always done. Yeah. And so I was like, I'd like to see him spice things up a little bit or whatever. And he kind of did that here with that swanton on the apron and that kind of stuff. But I want him to just take some time and let his body heal up a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Like I just think he should start working a little smarter now, considering the amount of injuries he's had and his age. Like
Yeah, because like he still does the same moves. They are slower now than they used to be, and like it's always funny to see like there's always that clip about him doing the whisper in the wind, totally missing like Jinder, and Jinder still taking the fall. Like eventually, like because it's happened to more people than just Jinder, where like they've missed spots, but they've still taken the bump. Eventually you start to wonder, like, I wonder if it's Jeff, because it's happening a lot lately. But no, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Still, certainly, when it's something like that, I'll assume that the opponent was not in the right place. But like, I'd like to just let him recover a little bit, and this might be the time to do that.
Yeah, he was taken out, and I think people were just kind of. They seem to be sitting on their hands a little bit during the match, but I think it's because they figured, that they know Jeff is moving into a feud with Randy, and that was kind of lingering in the background, so they're probably expecting him to come out, and so they were just this was like a wrap up for Jeff and Shinsuke.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad that feud is done, and they are gonna move on. Assuming they're gonna move on, like I'll let Shinsuke. I'd like to have him battle someone else at this point.
Yeah. I'm done. I'm over with him and Hardy, and I like the heel turn. I like that they're kind of doing something different with him. But I'm over this feud basically, and so he picked up the win. Shinsuke with the Kinshasa hit that on Hardy to retain, and Orton did appear after the match, and he looked like he was going to make a beeline towards the ring and put a hurting on Jeff, but then he just turned around and went to the back. So
like, I wonder, like it's weird, but I wonder if this is just like masterful trolling. Like it's just he comes out, everyone wants to RKO people or do whatever. He's like, no, if that's what you want, nope, I'm not going to do that.
Yep. Well, it's a good way for him to draw some heel heat, because even as a heel, Orton gets cheered. So if people are expecting to see the RKO and then they don't get it, then they'll boo. Like, what I'm saying? So he did say in a backstage interview later, he was asked about, why didn't he do anything? And he says Jeff Hardy basically belongs to him, and tonight wasn't the right night. So, he's basically saying that he does what he wants and he'll do what he wants when he wants to Jeff Hardy. So pretty funny.
Yeah.
So that wrapped that up. Now we're getting into pretty much the end here. The last couple of matches on the show. This was for the Raw Women's Championship. Another kind of like a squash match here. Alexa Bliss defending against Ronda Rousey. And Natalya came out in her dad's jacket. Of course, Jim the Anvil Neidhart just recently passing away.
I thought that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, rest in peace to him. That was cool to see. And, Natty was one of the women that have helped train Ronda, since she made the transition from the UFC to WWE. So she was in Ronda's corner supporting her. Alexa Bliss made her entrance. It was kind of, backpedaling, trying not to face Ronda in the opening moments of the matchup. But eventually, Ronda got her hands on her, and this was, again, a squash. Bliss did not get much offense. She did get a couple of hits, which Rousey basically no-sold.
Yeah.
Rousey hit a couple of moves on her and basically locked in the armbar to win her first women's championship. What do you think?
I was surprised. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's too soon to put the belt on Rousey, and I was surprised that it was a squash. I can't believe it happened so quickly. But like it flows well, like with how they've built up Rousey. To be honest, it works for that part of the story, but I still think it's a little too soon. But like they've protected Ronda so well, and like her rollout has been pretty perfect. But now that she's got the belt, they can't really protect her as much anymore, because especially if she's talking about she's being a fighting champion and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm nervous. I'm hoping she does well, because everything that they've shown her doing has been great. Yeah. But it's always been in short little bursts, and it's the hot tag, and she could do all her moves, and then it's awesome, and then it's done. so I don't know how well she's going to be able to do extended matches and that kind of stuff, especially since basically they pretty much close Raw and even and oftentimes SmackDown now with they main event it with the women's match. So especially now that she has the belt, I think that she will probably close out Raw a lot of times, and that makes me a little bit nervous because I don't know how good. Not that I don't think she can do it, but I just don't know how good she is in an extended match.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it yet, but what she did show was pretty damn awesome, and I think they did a really good job using Alexa's like double jointed arms.
Oh yeah,
to make it look like she legit broke her Alexa's arm. I thought that was pretty cool.
That looked crazy. Yeah, right before locking in the armbar, she had her arm in that submission move. Like I thought that was gonna be the one to end the match. The way her arm looked, that looked brutal, right?
Yeah, but that she just has that like that she can hyperextend the elbow. I think it's awesome. It's so smart. It's such a smart thing to use for something like this.
For sure.
That it is really good. And like I think that they have booked Ronda so well and so strong that now I don't know what they're gonna do with her. I'm a little nervous now. Like she's beaten everybody, like all the women on the roster basically, that I don't know what they can possibly do other than like when they bring them all together and they have her against Charlotte.
Yeah,
because Charlotte's not on this roster. She is because she's plowed through the entire Raw women's roster basically, and like because Alexa Bliss is probably their next best person. Maybe Nia Jax, but she's beaten Nia Jax, and now she's squashed Alexa Bliss. So who's next? Like Alicia Fox is not going to be Alicia Fox.
Yeah,
or anything like that. So I don't really know where they're going to go with it.
Well, so far on TV, I mean, she did have at Money in the Bank the first one-on-one match with Nia Jax, but technically the match got thrown out because Alexa Bliss
she cashed in
she cashed in. Yeah, so we didn't get the winner there. And she's beaten Nia on house shows and stuff. Like she beat her at that house show that I went to at Madison Square Garden. But on television, she's faced Nia Jax, but no clear winner there. So they could follow that up. I'm sure Alexa Bliss will probably get a rematch for the title and kind of get that out of the way. And then, I guess the other women on Raw, who do we have? We have Dana Brooke, we have Alicia Fox, Sasha, Bailey. So there's a few heads, and again, like you said, she has been protected, but I think they'll probably just keep going the route they've been going with the shorter matches and making her just look like a badass, and
she really does. Though. Like everything she does has been great so far.
And you know what? It's weird because like the greenness that she still has in the ring is almost like working for her in a way, because the way she moves, like the janky movements and stuff like that, like it's making the stuff that she's doing like look real. Like in a way.
Yeah, totally does.
So I like what it's been doing for her in-ring matches that we've seen so far. And of course, since she has that name and that special dynamic, they've just been booking her just right, I feel. And she's going to be protected during this title run. She's going to basically plow through the roster, I'm pretty sure, basically just leading up to that big matchup with Charlotte, which has to happen at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
I'm calling it right now. So when we get to WrestleMania, we'll be like, remember we spoke about it. So cool match. The Bellas, she locked in the armbar, got the victory. Alexa Bliss submitted, so she wins the Raw Women's Championship, and Natalya and the Bella Twins celebrated with Ronda in the ring. So just it'll be cool to see where they go with this from now on. And
I was expecting Ronda to win the belt at Evolution and then set up to do the big match versus Charlotte at WrestleMania, like you said. But like, so I'm curious to see where they go with this. Like again, if I can see them, they do the 4 horsewomen at Evolution. I can see that. Like, so they would probably have to do that in order to make as big an impact as Ronda winning the belt would have been. So I think it's interesting. I'm very curious now to see where they go with it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. So we'll see where that goes, especially with that Evolution pay-per-view coming up. So, all right, finally the main event. Brock Lesnar defending the Universal Championship against Roman Reigns. So I already know the crowd was just ready to hijack this match. And, we spoke about it earlier. Braun retained his Money in the Bank, his Money in the Bank briefcase. And I think they did this very smart because I think they knew that the fans were going to boo both guys, and that the only way that they were going to stop the fans from hijacking this match was to have Strowman come out and be like, all right, guys, like, I'm here and I'm going to cash this in. Like, so just wait, what I'm saying? So it kind of, it stopped the fans from shitting on the match.
Yeah, exactly. And no one was going to leave because during that match, because they thought it was boring because now you got to stay for when Strowman catches in.
Yep.
It was very smart.
Very smart on their end, so it started fast and furious. Roman, as soon as the bell rang, hitting some Superman punches on Brock, hit him with a couple of spears. On the third spear, Brock catches him in the guillotine.
How awesome was that? That was so good.
Yeah, that it was cool. And then just great show of strength by Roman, just being able, from that position, being able to pick Brock up, stand up, slam him, to the ground. Brock kept the guillotine in place. Strowman, again, he came out. He basically said before the match got started that he was going to cash in on the winner. You know what I'm saying? So, they had to basically watch their back. Reigns tried to hit a spear on Brock. Brock sidestepped him, which caused him to do a suicide dive onto Braun on the outside. Brock followed that up, hit Braun Strowman with an F5 on the outside, and then tossed his Money in the Bank briefcase up to the entrance ramp, which was so funny.
Across the entire arena, basically. What the hell?
That was super funny. You know what I'm saying? Basically, keeping them, if you want to keep them from cashing in, that's the way you do it. So, this match definitely wasn't long. It was basically, this was it as I'm describing. Brock basically grabbed a chair, smacked Braun a couple of times on the outside, and when he stepped back into the ring to hit Roman with the chair, Roman caught him with a spear for the 1, 2, 3. Kind of a shocking ending. I'm pretty much, we didn't know what direction they were going to go because, we know Brock is headed towards UFC, but we all thought he was going to lose the belt at WrestleMania, and that didn't happen. And he was being advertised for tomorrow's Monday Night Raw. So there was a chance, that he was going to keep the belt here. But, Roman got the 1, 2, 3, finally dethrones Lesnar after years and years of trying, and finally gets his due as the Universal Champion. With Brock Lesnar, laying out Braun Strowman on the outside and tossing the briefcase, Braun did not get the chance to cash in. So the pay-per-view ended with Roman Reigns celebrating his Universal Championship victory. And I liked, you could kind of hear him mouthing. He's like, man, no more part-time. This title is going everywhere, which I do think is a boon of him winning. So What do you think overall of the main event?
It was actually pretty good. It was more entertaining than I thought it would be. I'm glad that it's off Brock. The title's off Brock.
Yep.
Certainly, that's the first thing right away there. It's very smartly done, like you said, with by having them have Braun in there, and it was also very smart that they kind of doing that kind of had Brock distracted and kind of allowed Roman to nail him with that spear. It was a much better match than I thought it was going to be. It all panned out differently than I thought it would go. And I think that's probably why I liked it as much as I did. It was interesting, I guess is the best way that I can put it. I'm glad that it's off Brock, who's like 30 pounds lighter than he has been now that he's going back to UFC, which I think is hilarious. Juice. Exactly. Yeah. No more vitamin S for him. but I actually think that Roman is a good worker and he's a good wrestler. So I'm glad he just is not a very good promo. And then I think his push seems very artificial. So I'm cool with this, and I think it'll be good. Hopefully, this will actually allow people to give him a chance, and actually show his skills as a wrestler. Because I think just immediately people are like, I'm tired of this. I don't want, why is it always got to be Roman versus Brock and he's going to be the one that dethrones him? So now that that is actually out of the picture now, and he can have good campaigns like with Finn Balor or whatever, like Cena did when he did that the US Championship Open Challenge. Like I thought that was great. It spotlighted a bunch of up and comers. It made Cesaro look awesome again, and it made Cena look good. So I'm hoping that that's the kind of thing that happens while he has his reign. And so I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic about that, and hope that it goes somewhere well. It goes somewhere good, I suppose. But yeah, I think that the whole thing was very smartly done. I'm glad it wasn't a super long match, because it was at this point a long pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that storyline is finally over.
Me too. I think they did need to take that belt off Brock. I understand, his part-time schedule, makes it more special or whatever, but not having the top title there really sucked. And now with Roman holding the strap, being a full-time champ, that's going to be great. And just to kind of follow that up, Monday Night Raw, they already started. He came out and basically, had an open challenge, but specifically gave a title shot to Finn Balor, and I'm glad that they brought up the fact that Finn was the first Universal Champion and he never got his rematch for the belt due to injury. And when he returned from injury, just because of where the title picture was at, Brock had a stranglehold on it, and they realistically weren't giving Finn Balor a match against Brock Lesnar. So I did like the fact that immediately Roman gave that challenge and gave Balor an opportunity and did play up that storyline, of him giving him a fair shake of getting that title back. And then I just love the interesting thing is that now we know with Braun Strowman, he didn't get to cash in Money in the Bank. So, that's his intent, what I'm saying? And he's targeted Roman Reigns before, and Braun Strowman's been played as the babyface. And Reigns has been pushed as a babyface, and now it's interesting because at the end of that Universal title match, Reigns retained over Finn Balor, and out came Braun Strowman to cash in Money in the Bank, and out came Rollins and Ambrose. The Shield reunited, basically picking up where they left off before Dean Ambrose got injured, and they basically decimated Braun Strowman, hit him with the triple powerbomb through the announce table, and basically prevented him from cashing in Money in the Bank against Roman Reigns. So I think that's an interesting development now. If
it definitely is,
Reigns being champion and he has backup in the Shield, they basically have his back as champion. Like, do you think they're gonna play the Shield as kind of like heels, or like what direction you think they're gonna go real quick?
Yes, I think if they really want to get Roman over, even though like I'd mentioned, like he can have good campaigns and all that, I think the best way to get Roman over again is to have him as part of the Shield, have heel Shield.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And then so I think the tag titles go to Rollins and Ambrose, and then Roman has the Universal Championship. So they all have gold.
Yep.
And I think that is, you do that, and then that'll make everyone loved Roman when he was part of the Shield originally.
Mm-hmm.
So then you let Seth and you let Dean, you let them do all the talking. You let Roman be the enforcer again. And then what I think you can do, what I think would be great, is you have them hold those titles as heels for a long time, however long you want to make it. And then you call up Undisputed Era, and you have Undisputed Era versus the Shield. You have the factions go. I would love to see that.
Oh man, that's a dream matchup right there.
I think that would be great. And then because you have them, they held all the titles in NXT. You have all the titles on Raw. Then let's do this. I think that would be a cool matchup. I think it would work out really well.
Yeah, man, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. I'm definitely interested to see where they take it, and I kind of do hope they go in that heel direction. You know what I'm saying? Basically, the Shield helping Roman retain. You know, Seth Rollins is the new Intercontinental Champion, so he could get the benefit of the alliance as well, and maybe just take it in a different direction where people might not expect, because everybody loves the Shield, and but when they first came in, they were heels, and that's initially how they got over. So I think if they do that, I think that could also solve the heel problem on Raw, because, Owens got squashed and, Corbin got squashed. They were two of the main heels on Raw. You have Elias, who I feel like that he's kind of being positioned as the top guy, but not really so much so in matches and storyline. He kind of still takes his L's. He's still kind of like a mid-card act, but still in that upper mid card status. When you look up and down the roster of Monday Night Raw, like, who else are the heels? You got Jinder, who's been kind of getting jobbed out. He's the only other one. It's Owens. It was Zayn before he was injured. It's Jinder. It's Corbin. And some of these guys got squashed last night. So they definitely have to rebuild the heels on Raw, and maybe, turn some of these guys, like maybe like a Bobby Roode or some of these other guys that are kind of stagnant in the face role, and flip them and see if you could build some solid heels on Raw moving forward. But
Bobby Roode was a great heel in TNA, and I think he was a good heel he was
NXT.
Relatively heel in NXT, even though he was very over, but he was a good heel. I think he does his best work as a heel,
for sure.
So I'd like to see, like, I feel bad for him. Like, is he feuding with Mojo Rawley now? It's like that seems like that's a waste. A big waste. Even though I think they're both talented. I think Mojo's talented, but like, he's mid-carder at best. And then Bobby Roode was NXT champion.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It's crazy to see this is where he's at.
Yeah, he needs that heel turn in order to kind of, I think, get to be relevant again, because the face, him being a face, he didn't get much on SmackDown, and then they moved him to Raw in the shakeup, and he's been lower mid card, no run at all, no storyline, and he's basically putting Mojo and some other guys over, which sucks.
I'm hoping again, now that the whole Brock thing is done, assuming it's done, like, this will allow them to do other storylines and bring some more people up from the mid card and let them be featured on TV again. Yeah.
Top heels, man, because that's what the show needs, So, man, thanks, man. This was a long one. I think we went over 2 hours, almost at 3 hours, actually.
That is a lot, but considering we've compressed like 9 hours worth of wrestling. We didn't do a bad job, but man, this is a long one.
Yeah, we gave him the breakdown. I mean, SummerSlam is just longer than average, and and our love for NXT just has us going in all directions, just breaking that down.
For sure.
Yeah, man. But thank you, man. Thank you for joining me. I always look forward to these breakdowns every single month after these pay-per-views. So,
I do too.
Yeah, next one will be Hell in a Cell in a few weeks. So definitely looking forward to that one. And try to get other people on, but I like this dynamic with me and you and stuff like that, especially sometimes we have to do it late night, so
so I appreciate that with the baby, and especially a sick baby. I appreciate your flexibility, because I'm glad that we got to talk this through.
No doubt, man. No doubt. So, all right, before we head out, just let the people out there listening know where they can find you on social media, man.
You can find me, Paul Chu, on social media, on Facebook, primarily. If you go and join that ROC Facebook page, the Rumble Collectors page. Also, Paul Chu1 on Instagram. Also, I'm on the Building Up to It podcast on the Bricks on the Dollar channel, also part of the Cool Table Network. So if you like Lego, definitely check out that podcast. It airs every Friday on YouTube, and shortly thereafter on iTunes. If you would like to listen, though, it is fairly visual most of the
time. Yeah, I usually, the audio versions are definitely easier for me to consume. But yeah, for a visual show like that, yeah, definitely check it out on YouTube, guys. So all right, man. Thanks again for joining me. And like I said, I look forward to Hell in a Cell in a few weeks. And
absolutely, anytime.
You're always welcome, man. You're always welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, peace out. All right, guys, I hope you really enjoyed that, and I want to thank Paul C for once again joining me and having a conversation with me here on Verbally Challenged. I always look forward to when we get together and get to talk wrestling during these monthly pay-per-views. It's definitely a highlight of the month for me, and I'm happy to bring you that podcast that at least once a month where we're talking about wrestling. So I hope you guys really enjoy it. So remember to check him out on Building Up to It, which publishes every single Friday on the Bricks on the Dollar YouTube channel. Alright guys, as for myself, if you were listening to the show, if you want to join me here on Verbally Challenged, you're more than welcome. Just hit me up all over social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Xbox Live, and the PlayStation Network, all at HarikenBx. You could find me all over social media at HarikenBx. You could also follow me on Instagram at Diaz4Fitness. Before we head out, guys, some quick shout outs. Remember to check out Realm of Collectors. We have a website, realmofcollectors.com. We're on Facebook as a group, Realm of Collectors, and we're on Instagram at Realm of Collectors. Pull up a chair to the cool table. It's a hub for like-minded podcasts, including Enter the Realm and Breaking the Mold, Mondays and Tuesdays respectively on the Realm of Collectors YouTube channel. The only show to watch on Saturday nights, Plastic Fanatics, the Late Night Aftercast on Victory Saber 77's YouTube channel. Those 3 shows are also available in audio format on iTunes and Google Play. The rest of the shows on the cool table are Shattercast Uncut, Nerd Rage Radio, Toy Detox, Stasis Lock, Building Up to It, Fresh Communication, Beer and Bolts is 40K, and 8 Weeks. You can find the cool table on Facebook along with links to all these other great podcasts. Alright guys, that's it. That's the episode. Thank you for the download. Thank you for the stream. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. We'll be back soon. Real soon with the next episode. Alright, so take care, stay safe, and peace out.